What's up, everybody? Welcome back to this, again, untitled podcast. Someday we'll get a title.
One
Probably
day.
pretty soon, hopefully.
You know, this is about the 1 year anniversary of our podcast. Our very first episode zero was the mock draft.
The one that didn't make it out to the audience.
Yep, that's the
Indeed,
one
indeed.
with no visuals.
Mm. It's a nice milestone. Hopefully, we'll have posted more
1 year.
than two podcasts by next year. But, yeah, in this podcast, in this episode, we're going to talk about, just draft profile again. Case in point, it's been a year since the last one. Our resident draft
Yep, yep,
expert,
yep.
Nathan, or Nate, whatever he goes by,
Both, either one is fine.
he wants to just break down the draft, and we'll just do that. But we were just talking about the Jake Paul versus uh, what's
Ben Askren.
yeah, Ben Askren. I don't
Yep.
know if you guys have any more thoughts on that.
Man, Jake Paul, he is carving out a nice little career for himself of being a boxer that does not box boxers. I think he's calling out Nate Diaz now, which would be a better fight because Nate Diaz actually can box for a UFC fighter. He's not like a boxing level hands, but he's got some hands for a UFC fighter. He can box. He outboxed Conor in the first time they fought, and then took him to the ground and choked him out, obviously. But that'd be a fun fight. Nate Diaz has a chin too. I don't think he's ever been knocked out, or that's off the top of my head. I think he got stopped in his last fight with Jorge Masvidal because the doctor stopped it because of a cut. But other than that, I don't think he's ever been finished.
Yeah, I saw you tweeting about that. I would have thought Nate Diaz would be an upgrade to the people he fought so
He
far,
is. Yeah,
because
he's a big upgrade.
Ben
Nate Diaz,
Askren
huge upgrade.
was worse than Nate Robinson. I couldn't believe that it was
It
it,
was bad.
I don't know what's going on with that. If it was he was just in there for the paycheck or something.
Well,
What?
he's a 36-year-old wrestler with a muffin top, man.
How
He
did
he.
he survive in the UFC? It's you get punched, don't you?
Well, he was 1-2 in the UFC, and he literally would just take his opponents down and ground and pound them. That's all he would do. That was
So
his
he just
game.
was never getting hit.
Well, I mean, you saw him shoot for a takedown
Yeah,
instantly
in that
against
one
Jorge
fight.
Masvidal. Literally.
Because I can't imagine Jake Paul's punches with gloves would hurt more than some of these UFC fighters that he's
I don't
fighting.
know. Jake Paul probably hits pretty hard. He was the bigger man in there. He was 5'11", had a longer reach. They both weighed 190, but you could tell Jake's was a better put together 190 than Askren was.
Indeed, indeed. Hey, good for him though. 500 grand,
Hey, and
40
if he bet
seconds.
on if he bet on himself to get knocked out in the first round, hey, he's rolling in it now.
Indeed, indeed. Uh, the only thing I wanted to ask you guys is, so today Trevor Lawrence tweeted, because I don't know if you guys have been following all of this
I think I posted
toaster
that tweet,
stuff.
didn't I?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
there are a lot of people that are saying, isn't that tampering? I didn't know that players could talk like that before a draft. I didn't know if that was a real thing or not.
Why would that be tampering? He's not with any NFL team.
Yeah, I suppose. Is that like a normal thing that happens? I don't think I've ever
No.
seen uh
It's funny that
pre-draft.
he was. It was funny that he was
I've never heard of it, no.
talking about it 1 week before the or 2 weeks before the draft. But like, I mean, everyone knows it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. Like, I don't see a problem with it except for like, it'd be hilarious if the Jaguars like took Zach Wilson or something. But we know they won't.
But yeah, I know that the NFL likes having the air of secrecy or whatever because they want to,
Hmm.
I don't know,
More
promote the
intrigue, more
draft.
drama.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember Florio was saying that he thinks that if Urban Meyer had come out and just said that they were taking Trevor Lawrence, that the NFL would have fined them because,
Really?
yeah,
Probably.
because they
I
want
think
it.
in 2012 didn't the Colts come out and say they were taking
Yeah,
Andrew
wasn't
Luck?
it was like 3 days before, right? A
I
couple days
can't remember
before.
the exact timeline
Yeah,
before, but
I think he was saying it's because since then the NFL has made an effort to make sure that they don't know. It's like how they won't
mm,
show us the phone call during the draft night. They specifically won't tell us because they want it to be when they go up and announce it or whatever. But yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Jets fans are continually mad about it. I see them
I don't.
all the time.
hmm I don't understand like why people would get all up in arms about Trevor Lawrence donating to charities in Jacksonville. Like, just I don't. He's just donating to charities in a city like that he's probably going to play in. But like, what
Yeah,
what
but it
what,
was also a huge amount of money too.
what was it only like 20K?
Yeah, he donated 20K. A
Yeah,
lot of
I thought it
people
was
are like,
100K. Oh, okay.
the total is up like at 30,000, but that was from the fans, like they had donated that.
the GoFundMe.
Yeah, from it was just to buy him like wedding gifts in his registry. But like when it got way when it got to like any amount, like they were only trying to buy, I think they were trying to just buy a toaster that was $300. But once it got like insanely priced, they just were like, oh, we'll just donate the rest. So I just want to give one like a quick shout out though. The person that organized and started this whole thing was the Dillical.
Was it Dilla?
Yeah,
That's what I thought.
the
I was
Dilla
like,
podcast.
is he the one that initiated that?
Yeah, like he just
Damn.
started it. Like he was just like, it'd be funny if we bought some gifts on his registry, and the Jaguars fans, I guess, have a lot of money to spend on stuff like that.
Well, Dilla's pretty big in the Jaguars Twitter, right?
Oh,
He's like
the
one of the main
biggest.
people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dilla is like, if you follow the Jaguars and you're on Twitter, like Dilla is like either you follow Dilla and you're in the Jaguars Twitter or you don't. Like, then you're not really on Jaguars Twitter. He's kind of like the,
I follow Dilla, so I'm on Jags Twitter too.
and it's a great follow, man. Dilla's a great follow.
He is. He is. We should get him on one time
Hopefully, when we're
eventually.
more, I don't know,
Established.
established indeed. I bet you he'd come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if that's that, we can just jump right into the draft. Hamlin, take it away, man.
All right. So, just to give a little bit of a precursor to what we're going to be doing here. So I'm going to be doing a mock draft of what I would do if I was the GM of the team. But at the same time, we're also going to talk about what we think would happen and what some other possible avenues and options are for each team, what kind of players they might like there, and that kind of stuff. So to get into it, we can start with the first pick. I'll let Sterling Sanders go ahead and make this one because what I would do is exactly what everyone is thinking is going to happen. So go ahead and take it away, Sterling.
Well, you gotta go Trevor Lawrence. Like you could make a joke and be like, "Oh, I would take Zach Wilson or whatever." Like it's Trevor Lawrence. It always was. We wouldn't even have the coaching candidate that we have, Urban Meyer, if we didn't have the first overall pick. If everything was exactly the same except the Jets had the first overall pick, we would have an entirely different coaching staff with an entirely different, like probably front office and GM and like whole different
Mm-hmm.
direction of the franchise. Whether Trevor Lawrence ends up panning out or not, like he is going to change like Jacksonville football for, or he has changed already for the foreseeable future. I am obviously very excited for it. I've never had a franchise quarterback, as you can tell. I've been a Jaguars fan, and I used to think that like, oh yeah, like I'll be a Jaguars fan forever. Like it's like I'm like a diehard fan, I should say. Which I'm probably always gonna be a Jaguars fan. I can't ever just like root for another team. But throughout last season and like towards the end of the other, what was it, 2019 season, I started realizing that I don't know, maybe I won't just watch a perpetually bad team for year in year out. Like I started having trouble to like, I don't know, get excited for like Sunday. I started missing games, which I hadn't done in like 6 or 7 years. But then the Jets won a game, and it was like a playoff game. Like it was the most excited I'd been since our playoff game, and probably even more so than that. And
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I can go on. I can just ramble on and on. Trevor Lawrence, the
Uh,
pick.
yeah, I have a question for Matt Lemon here. So Lemons, what are we thinking about Urban Meyer?
What do you mean by that? Like, do I think he's going to be a good coach
Do you
or?
think it was yeah? Do you think it was a good hire? Do you think he's going to pan out for them? What are your thoughts on the whole Urban Meyer situation?
So I think it was a good hire, but like, part of me is kind of worried because he had all those health problems. So I
Mm-hmm.
do kind of worry. Say things aren't really working out, and like the first season he goes like 6-11 or something like that, where he's not really winning.
Sterling said,
Part of me is kind of worried that in like 2 years, if he hasn't started to win yet, then maybe he might have some sort of health problem that might come up, which would cause him to leave.
Exit.
So I mean,
Indeed.
yeah,
There is precedent for that with like Nick Saban. Only lasted 2 years. They were just kind
exactly.
of middling, and then he just was like, "Why would I stay here struggling when I could just win every year in college?"
Literally.
Exactly.
Sterling was telling me last night that he thinks the floor for the Jaguars is 6 wins this year with Trevor Lawrence. So,
Any of
what
you
do
guys
think
want to
about
take that bet?
Matt?
I think that's actually a pretty good floor. I'd say the ceiling is 11.
11
Ceiling.
wins.
Ceiling.
I mean, it's 11-6 now, right? It's extra
Dude,
game.
they're still on the AFC
Right.
South, though. It's
Yeah.
still a competitive division. Like, I cannot. I think the ceiling for them is 8 wins.
The AFC South's not so
8.
strong anymore,
I
Hamilton.
think the floor is 4, the ceiling is 8. That's what I think for the Jaguars.
Yeah, if they don't win more than 4 games, it's a terrible year. I mean, for being 6 wins, yeah, I mean that's pretty safe. I could personally see them going like 8 or 9ish,
Man, that'd
kind of being around that range. Yeah.
I mean, if Trevor Lawrence is the real deal, man, we already have an offense set up to play well.
But like, it is not normal for a rookie quarterback to switch a team like that. Like Andrew Luck and RG3 are
RG3?
I just said Andrew Luck and RG3.
Okay, all right, good. Okay.
We're not. That wasn't normal. That's not the precedent.
I mean, but nowadays it kind of is. Rookie quarterbacks
really.
ball out like year in and year out. Maybe
Justin
not in terms of
Herbert
wins, but
crazy. This
Usually
year,
year
every
2
rookie passing record.
quarterbacks, yeah.
Justin Herbert set every rookie passing record by a lot, and they still only won like what? How many games did they win? Like
no idea.
I can't. Was it 6 or 4? Like it was.
How many games?
It was around there.
How many games did they lose by one possession though? Is the question you have to ask.
A
Like
lot.
Justin Herbert won them like a lot of those games, and they could have been a turnaround story like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like obviously, I don't want to get my hopes up too much, but anything is got like this season. It's just like it's a made season. There's, like if we like are terrible, win 2 games, then yeah, that's gonna be like kind of unfortunate. And like I feel like barring injury to Trevor Lawrence, I don't think there's a way that can happen. Like, I think the 6 win is like probably what I would expect, and it's not like a 6 win like where we barely win and then like the other 11 games now that they have is like I don't know blowouts. I think there would be a lot more games that they're in, and maybe
Each
they
game
just
is close, yeah.
they just don't. I mean, even this year, I think we had 6 games decided by one like possession, and
So-
we won 1 game.
So you're not worried at all about Trevor Lawrence adjusting to the NFL because he was in the most collegey offense out of all the quarterbacks, the most RPOs, all that kind of stuff. Whereas now he's going to be playing in a pro style offense where like I could see it taking him like half the season to get adjusted and then start turning it on. But what do
Yeah,
you
I
think?
mean, no, because he's not he's I don't know he's not a like limited quarterback. He was in an RPO style offense because that's what the offense that they wanted to run. Like they had
It worked amazingly.
Yeah.
Like it just kept working and working. So why move away from that?
literally.
Yeah.
I've seen breakdowns of it too of like the offense. It's they're the way they include like it's less hiding your quarterback. Obviously they weren't hiding the quarterback limitations. It's more of they're just creating spread mismatches like all across the field because of how good their players are. Like since their players are so much better at all like positions, the reason why they play that style of offense instead of just a pro style offense is they don't need to pound the rock for 4 yards and then set up play action. They can just do like it's like the spread. So they have the offense like they had the defense spread out and then they just take mismatches. And since Trevor Lawrence was mobile, they could actually like make it was like some of the RPOs are like screens or like run pass options that would normally just be a run pass quarterback option, but instead Trevor Lawrence can throw it too. Like so I don't know, I watched one Tim Tebow breakdown, so I'm an expert now. But yeah, it's like I mean, clearly he has no like problems throwing it deep, reading extra progressions, like play action, handing the ball off. Like I feel like with like I don't know, like Marcus Mariota for example, when people were worried about him, it was like he only took snaps from the shotgun and had never changed the play and had only played like with like I don't know the O line not breaking down things like that like. And we saw with Justin Herbert last year where he was in an RPO style offense because he was in the spread offense and people actually it hurt his draft stock. Like he ended up like falling in the draft and he had no problem adjusting. So like
Yeah,
if anything,
some good points.
I think uh, the offense was. I wouldn't say it was like hampered by Trevor Lawrence. I think it was just like he just ran the offense that they wanted him to run.
Hmm. I can see
Yeah,
that.
that makes sense.
All right, so we want to move it on to pick 2 now. You guys have anything else to say about Trevor Lawrence? Or
Go to pick 2.
all
Let's
right,
do it.
so pick 2. What I would do here is also what the rest of the world thinks is going to happen here. Zach Wilson. Um, I don't know if there's really too much to say about Zach Wilson. He's Chris Sims' #1 quarterback in the draft. He says he's
Which I
Aaron
still don't know
Rodgers,
why.
Mahomes, because he's got a strong arm. He makes those plays off schedule, like a Mahomes and like an Aaron Rodgers does. And I don't, I'm not really like super into the quarterbacks this year anymore because we traded for Carson Wentz, but I think all of the I'm pretty much in on all the top 5 being good, but yeah, Zach Wilson. What do you guys think?
uh, I mean, I also like Chris Sims a lot, and I watch all his stuff, and I can see the arm talent. Like I see that he like he throws the ball if he's and all that. Like I'm sure he's gonna be a great quarterback. I don't know, with a lot of times like it's like for Kyler Murray for example or Josh Allen. Like I'm not that in tune with like how good quarterbacks are gonna end up being. They're like except for when I think they're gonna be bad. Like
Hmm.
I was just not sold on Sam Darnold at all,
Me
and
either.
uh, but I mean I wasn't sold on Deshaun Watson either, and then that one blew up.
Yeah,
So I take Chris
yeah.
Sims' word for it. When Chris Sims first posted his rankings, it made me very sad because it kind of put me in like a no-win situation where I believe Chris Sims, but I know that the Jaguars aren't going to draft him, and I wouldn't have even wanted the Jaguars to draft Zach Wilson because
You shouldn't want him.
like
No.
that would just like if you do that and it doesn't work out, you're gonna be just so unhappy with yourself. Like it wouldn't make any sense.
Did it kind of
So
make you sad that you didn't get the second pick, so you have an excuse to
yeah,
take him?
for a little bit it did, but
Hmm.
watching more Chris Sims stuff, like the way he talked about Trevor Lawrence, and he even said that Trevor Lawrence probably has a higher floor than Zach Wilson. He could see
Hmm.
like injuries or like things like that being more of a problem for Zach Wilson because he's smaller. Trevor Lawrence
Hmm.
is like insanely big. It's like and also Chris Sims does like those big guys.
Lawrence is a little bit lanky though.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think he can put on weight. Like, there's
Hmm.
never said that he couldn't. The most recent time we saw him was when he already knew that he had a shoulder tear, and
Yeah,
so he wasn't able to lift. Like,
right.
I think that they said that he was supposed to weigh in at 230 for his pro day.
Hmm.
That was like the plan. So it was supposed to come like bigger, but then he was 213, so he was obviously
Hmm.
really lanky. But
What did he play at? Like 220, 225?
I have no idea.
Hmm.
You also don't really have to be that big for a QB too. You
Yeah,
know,
I mean
like
they're
that
protecting
doesn't
him.
really matter too much.
Yeah.
It does when you're getting hit a lot.
I mean, I guess. I just think with Zach Wilson, he's only had one like really really good year. Only one very good year, and
So did Kyler
plus,
Murray.
right. But he also scrolled out of the pocket a bunch, and like sure, his arm is great, but he also didn't play that many of good teams. So it's just all those things added up that just make me kind of cautious about him.
But at the same time, with the competition thing, he didn't play the best competition, but he also didn't have the best talent around him either. It's like the same
I
thing. It's
mean,
like Trevor Lawrence played the good competition, but he also had a stacked roster. So like, it goes both
yeah,
ways.
true.
Like,
Yeah. I
I mean,
mean, I,
true.
like with Zach Wilson, I also think like it's not just like as Chris Sims always said, it's like the throws are just throws and then tight window is a tight window. But like if
exactly.
you start believing like that's like in the NFL, it's kind of not that way though. Like if certain tight windows, if you attempt to make that throw, you're just gonna throw a pick.
You're just gonna get picked off.
Like
Yep,
he's
yep.
not as used. He's definitely not as used to playing against like 4-4 guys or 4-3 guys that like I don't know like can bait him or those kind of
But he's
things.
also not used to throwing to 4-3 guys either.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying like, well, I'm not saying that I think he's gonna be bad. Obviously, I have already started a rivalry with him, and it's going to be Trevor Lawrence the whole way. But I could see why he's not as safe. And I mean, even Chris Sims said as much. Like, he is a
Mhm.
less safe prospect. Like,
hmm Yeah, Trevor Lawrence definitely has the higher floor. I think Zach Wilson's ceiling is probably like a little bit higher just because of the Mahomes, Rodgers stuff. But I like the risk reward of Trevor Lawrence better than the risk reward of Zach Wilson because Trevor Lawrence's floor is what, like a top 12 quarterback still, like
mhm.
floor, and
That's
his
his
ceiling's.
floor.
I mean,
It's a really high floor.
that's what I'm saying. He's
But
good,
like,
and his
yeah,
ceiling's top
it also
5.
kind of makes sense. Yeah.
Zach Wilson's ceiling is like top 2. I don't know if anyone could ever pass Mahomes, but his ceiling 20, like, so
Oh, sorry. You
I
should
think
repeat
I'd.
that. You like cut out for a second.
Oh, I was saying, Zach Wilson's ceiling is top 2, but his floor is like top 20, so or bottom 20. So like,
Yeah,
I
no,
like
that's
the I
true.
like the risk reward of Lawrence better.
So, are you completely sold on Chris Sims' rankings of Zach Wilson ahead of Trevor Lawrence then?
No,
Neither
I
am
don't
I.
know. Chris Sims this year was definitely a heat check for him, putting Fields at 6, which is crazy to me because I would definitely have Fields at 2 or 3.
You put Kellen Mond
Kellen
over
Mond, man.
Fields.
That's
I
the
know.
one.
That
Kellen
takes
Mond
some
is.
real balls.
It's a heat check for Sims this year, man. Like,
If Kellen
I
Mond
don't
is
know.
anything close to what Sims is saying, like, they're gonna like hire Sims as a GM soon, man.
Right.
Like,
Well, Sims said his ultimate goal is to become a GM, so he's more worried about being right than getting clicks because
Mhm.
he's saying every ranking is like a job interview for him because he does aspire to be a GM one day. So I
Interesting.
think he would be a pretty good GM, man. He's right more often than not, especially with quarterbacks.
yeah.
One thing too, is he's going to the Jets, where the Jets have like they need many more players than just a QB. So I'm not really sure, how well he's going to play for like the first year or so.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm, I'm not sure because Darnold made a bunch of great throws and stuff. It's just he had no one around him. So
Indeed.
I
Darnold
don't know.
showed the
It's
same
kind of scary.
problems on the Jets that he did at USC, though. He fumbled a lot still. He threw a lot of picks. Saw ghosts.
Yeah.
Like, he never really fixed his issues. And I think, low-key, Adam Gase saved Sam Darnold's career because now Sam
Oh,
Darnold has an excuse.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because Sam Darnold now has an excuse as to why he played so bad. So now he's playing for the Panthers, who just traded him for him. They just picked up his 5th-year option. Whereas if he was playing with a good coach, I don't know if he would be viewed the way he is. He would probably be backup right now.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Gase.
It's also
as being his
possible.
That's
scapegoat.
actually a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also possible though that if he had a good coach though, he could have been good. Like, I don't know if Darnold. I always go back to. Do you guys remember 2019 when he had
Mhm.
mono and
Yeah.
the Jets were just like terrible or whatever? Like everyone was like, oh yeah, they're bad. By the end of the season, they were 7-9. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that was just all like that was all Sam Darnold. Like he came back and they just went on a tear and they
I mean,
somehow ended up at
What was
7-9
the
record.
context
Like,
of that though? Like, I
yeah.
don't know who they were playing and stuff. Like, I don't know
I just
the whole
remember at the beginning of
situation.
that season, like or not begin like right around the time Sam Darnold came back, uh, we played him, and like it was like this like the after the scene ghost week or whatever, he got sacked 9 times. Like it was a
Mhm.
blowout. Like well, the game wasn't even close. And this is the Jaguars. Like we finished 6-10, and then
Mhm.
come draft night, I find out that they are drafting behind us because they won 7 games. Like
Uh-huh.
so, I mean, you can get in trouble when you like try to focus in on that kind of thing, but I can understand why GM would think that they could fix Darnold, especially with like some of those clips of his throws that come out.
I just don't. It's only one clip every
And
time.
he's only 23.
That
the
clip was
same
good
clip.
though. That clip
It's
was
the same
nice.
clip. It's the same clip every single time, and it's just he's been with multiple coaching staffs now, and it's all the same. Like nothing has ever changed with him. It's just all, oh, maybe he can put it together one day. Like I think he is what he is at this point, and I would not have wanted to trade for him, especially what the Panthers gave up for him. I guess it was nice that they didn't
We'll
have to
see.
give up a first, but yeah.
So you think that there's no chance that Sam Darnold turns his career around on the Panthers then?
I think it's a very small chance. I wouldn't have been willing to make
I
that
think it's a pretty
gamble.
good chance.
Hey, listen, if Joe Brady can't do it, no one can.
No one can do it. Yeah,
Joe
no,
Brady's with the
that's
Panthers,
true.
right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, so moving on to number 3. So this is where the draft starts, fellas. We don't really know. We don't really know what's going on. At first, Mac Jones was the heavy betting favorite. That was the where all the smoke was. But now Vegas has Justin Fields as the betting favorite to go number 3. And I have them taking Justin Fields here because I just can't imagine trading 3 first-round picks for Mac Jones. I guess it depends what you think Mac Jones is. Do you think he's Kirk Cousins or do you think he's Matt Ryan? Because I think you would trade 3 first-round picks for Matt Ryan, but I don't think you would trade 3 first-round picks for Kirk Cousins. But,
Absolutely not. Yeah.
But yeah, Justin Fields, I think he would be amazing in the Shanahan offense. Runs 4.4, 6'3", 230, like a strong arm cannon. I think he is superstar potential. I'm a big Justin Fields guy. What do you guys think about Justin Fields?
So before the draft season actually started, what I thought was that Lawrence was QB1 and then Fields was QB2. So
That's
I'm
what
just
it
kind of
was.
curious. Yeah, so I'm just kind of curious why he's dropped so much. Like I heard there was something that he might actually not love the game as much as we thought.
Oh my
But
goodness,
besides that, I personally think that's BS.
that's not true.
Straight BS.
That's Dan
Right.
Orlovsky speculating, and he got roasted on Twitter for it. Like everyone came for Dan Orlovsky's neck, and he had to like literally issue an apology for saying that because he said it literally
That's
with
good.
not knowing really anything. Like that's not true. If you saw him play against Clemson, you saw him just get beat
Just
to
absolutely
crap.
ball out and go
And
crazy.
then ball
Yeah.
out still. Yeah, he played an amazing game against Clemson and took some hits too. Like you could. I don't know how there was ever any doubt about Justin Fields' heart or love of the game.
Yeah, so I think the Niners are not stupid enough to trade 3 first-round picks for Mac Jones. Like, so that's why I would not be surprised if it was Fields at all.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's my thoughts on that.
See, what Chris Sims says about Justin Fields is that, and what I've also heard is that Justin Fields has a little bit of a longer throwing motion, longer delivery, so he'd have to tighten up his throwing motion. And then there's conflicting reports on whether or not Justin Fields can read a defense or not, or just get stuck on one read. I tend to believe that he can progress. He can progress through his reads, and that he just didn't have to get off his first read most time because he played at Ohio State and could just has a rifle, so he could just force it
Because
to
his
his
dudes are
first
always
read.
open too.
Exactly.
Yeah, they always get open.
Exactly. So that's what I choose to believe. I've heard both sides. It's hard to argue with Chris Sims just because of his track record, but I really think Chris Sims is probably wrong on Justin Fields, man. I just have a good feeling about Justin Fields.
Me too.
Sterling, do you have any thoughts?
So I mean, before the draft season, we were slotted in at drafting second overall from like most of the whole season, and so I was pretty sold on Justin Fields at 2. There were people that wanted us to keep Minshew, or some people. There was a few people that wanted us to do Trey Lance, but Justin Fields at 2 was like the predominant thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then Chris Sims released his draft rankings and just completely changed my whole outlook on the entire quarterback situation of all the I'm going to defer to Chris Sims. Like, he watches more film than I do.
It is hard to argue against him.
I will say that it wasn't just Chris Sims that talked about that him not getting off his first read. Like, I had heard that from other people. Like, even like back when we were slotted to take him, like there were people who were saying like, oh, but I mean, when it comes to Ohio State quarterbacks, there's a whole lot of like, I don't know if, what you would call that, but like
A bad track record.
yeah, the track record for Ohio State quarterbacks is so like it's bad enough that like
It's terrible.
the common fan just they wash their hands. They don't want anything to do with Ohio State quarterback. They'll
think
say,
that's just
look at
such a
Dwayne
dumb-
Haskins. Look at I don't know who the other one was.
Cordell Jones.
Yeah, JT
Terrell
Barrett.
Pryor. Yeah, Terrell Pryor.
But yeah,
It's Cardell Jones. But like it's just scout the player, not the helmet, man. Like it was not the same coaching staffs for all those players. Justin Fields started out at Georgia and then transferred, so he's not like really like an Ohio State quarterback. He's always been like a top recruit. Like him and Trevor Lawrence were the top 2 quarterbacks coming out of high school, both 5-star prospects, both the best quarterbacks to come out of high school in years. And Justin Fields has always been with private quarterback coaches his whole life. Like it's not the same as like Dwayne Haskins. Like this is a different guy. This is a different type of player. Like I don't know. I just don't like I get it with like scouting like the school or whatever, but like I don't think that's a good way to like say a quarterback will be like bad just
Yeah.
because other people to come out of that program have been bad.
It's a good point.
I do want to mention about Mac Jones. I also hadn't. It wasn't just Chris Sims that I heard that was that high on Mac Jones. Like
Mm-hmm.
I remember. I guess it's just one of those things when you had the first overall pick and people don't really want Trevor Lawrence to go to the Jaguars. Like you get a lot of hot takes all the time, and
Uh-huh.
I just like at least you hear them. And so I had been hearing a couple of times like people were being like, if the Jaguars are really smart, like they would actually draft Mac Jones. Like if look at his like look at his
Hilarious.
body of work. You can't just scout like it's like they would say like you can't just look at Alabama like
He
the
couldn't even
throws
beat
he
out
makes.
Tua.
Listen, hold on a second. That is a bad argument to make because college coaches are just dumb sometimes. Like they chose. It's like saying Justin Fields couldn't beat out Jake Fromm. Like he could, but like they just chose Jake Fromm like because they're dumb. Like literally, like
True.
it's such a bad argument to make. And I've been saying all year, even before draft season, like just watching. I watched one Alabama game and I'm like, oh, Mac Jones is just way better than Tua. Like I would easily take Mac Jones over Tua. Like I don't know, you guys know I'm very low on Tua, but
So why did they not play Tua last year when Mac was there?
I have no idea. But I couldn't tell you. But like it's just I don't know. It's like yeah, I don't know. Like it's just I don't think it's a good argument to make. Like it's like saying I can't remember the exact analogy I had, but there have been oh yeah, it's like saying Joe Burrow. Um, okay, so like here's a good example. So it's like saying Joe Burrow played for Ohio State. It's like oh he couldn't beat out Dwayne Haskins, but like does that mean
That was a
he's
few
a
years
worse?
back, though.
But I'm saying like when you're that young, these kids are in their 20s, right? As they get older, there's a lot of like growing that happens from 21 to 22 to 23, like that stage in their lives as players. You can get a lot better. Look at the Joe Burrow situation. He jumped like out of nowhere basically, became the first overall pick, won the Heisman, best season ever for a college quarterback, and he couldn't beat out Dwayne Haskins back at Ohio State. But and that's another thing going back to the Zach Wilson thing. Like Joe Burrow came out of nowhere too, and is good. So like you can't like just use that as like a 1-to-1 comparison. Oh, he came out of nowhere. He's Mitch Trubisky now. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right. I'm not saying it's the only thing. I'm just saying it's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was saying with Mac Jones not beating out Tua. I just don't think that's a bad argument because like that doesn't mean that Mac Jones isn't a better player now. Like maybe Tua was better than him like a year ago, but that doesn't mean Mac Jones isn't better now. You see what I'm saying?
Fair.
I would say the reverse is true though. Like the reason why we have the Mitchell Trubisky like example is because that happened like with him. Like it does it you have to worry sometimes about their body of work. That's one of the reasons another reasons I would take Trevor Lawrence over Zach Wilson. And even if I like could pick either or whatever, it's because like Trevor Lawrence has been like I don't know starting and winning and being what Trevor Lawrence is like all the years in his college career, all the years in his high school career, or whatever. Like he was always like the chosen one, the one that's supposed to like save the team he's going to, or like a high top prospect. Whereas like Zach Wilson, I mean, yeah, he's definitely better than he was at the beginning of the 2019 season, but like it's still just it's less time. It's only one season. Like you take the long body of work when you've seen him do it consistently. Like
I guess.
Hasn't Trevor only lost 3 games too?
yeah, I think it's 4 now.
Like
But
his whole
yeah,
career?
it's like ridiculous. Like
Yeah.
Trevor
It's
Lawrence.
about to be. It's about to be 4 in 2 months next year.
Indeed. You probably start out 0-4.
Yeah,
But
it's like
it was one of those crazy stats that came out the other day. I just obviously a big Trevor Lawrence fan now. But there was a stat that came out. He has won the highest level of like he's like lifted the trophy at whatever level of competition he's played. I think it was like 19 out of 25 season like 25 like years back because he's going all the way back to when he was at I guess this little league. They were showing his little league highlights. He was looking pretty good, and they went undefeated that year. And they have like track his stats. He like threw 36 touchdowns, even though he's like a little kid. But yeah,
That's like Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray in high school won state every single year in high school, and that's in Texas. So like that's like
Oh, indeed.
serious high school. They take it seriously there in Texas. But yeah, these kids are something else. But you guys ready to move on to pick 4 then?
Yes, sir.
Indeed.
All right. So pick 4 originally slotted here is the Falcons. I have them trading out of this pick, and the team that I have trading up is the New England Patriots, and I have them trading up for Trey Lance here. Um, and I have them. Well, Sterling's not liking that, but I have them trading up because I think Bill Belichick has been very aggressive this offseason, just in free agency, and I could see him getting aggressive for a quarterback he likes, and I think Trey Lance fits a lot of what they want to do now with like Cam Newton, and it would work because Trey Lance could sit for a year behind Cam Newton, learn the offense, learn the Patriot way, and just get just get that experience sitting behind Cam Newton, and then be ready to take over the following year, and yeah, Trey Lance is a nice player, and yeah, I could just see the Patriots getting aggressive like that because I don't know if Belichick liked seeing Tom Brady hoist that Lombardi this year.
Okay, so the Pats were pick 15, right?
Yes.
So how much would they have to trade up to move to 4?
I don't know how much it would cost. It'd probably take at least
Two firsts, you think?
2 firsts and then 2 seconds probably at a minimum.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 firsts, but
I just don't know if I can see Bill doing that because that's just a lot of draft picks.
Indeed.
Well, Nick Caserio's no longer there to rein him in. Bill Belichick, he might not even be there for much longer. He might just
Yeah.
I don't know. He's
So
been,
he
he's
needs
been
a good
very
quarterback.
aggressive. Yeah, he's been very aggressive this offseason. I could see it happening.
Just a thought on that though. When you said the Patriot way, you meant the Tom Brady way, right? Because.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but one thing about Trey Lance. So he only played one game last year because of the COVID stuff, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And apparently I heard that game wasn't that great, right?
No.
Right.
Like it was just a fine game.
hmm
So he really hasn't played like important football for almost 2 years now.
Correct. That there's a lot
So
of
do you think
players
a
in
team is
that
going to
Texas
want
Styles.
to trade up
When-
that far to
when
pick
you
number
have-
4 and grab him?
When you have the tools and potential that Trey Lance does, I could see a team falling in love with that.
Okay.
He's got the size, the
Interesting.
arm, the running. Smart kid too. I can
Yeah.
see it. You got to remember his 2019 season. He had 0 turnovers. And
Yeah, he was
I
amazing
forgot
that
how many
year.
touchdowns. Yeah, but it was I think what was it 40? Like it was
It was
an
something
insane
like
season.
that.
Yeah.
Was it
He
29?
had a great year. Yeah.
He is playing at FCS or whatever though.
Yeah, he's playing at the Alabama of the FCS, but still, it's still a crazy stat line, regardless.
Because Carson Wentz went to the same school that he did, right?
Mhm.
Correct.
Do you think that gives them any pause to draft him since Wentz hasn't really been having the last great
I mean,
couple of years?
Wentz had fine the last couple of years, except for this last year. It's only 1 year that Wentz was bad. The rest he was
True.
he was good. But
True.
Sterling's laughing. But I mean, you can't go look at his stats. It's literally
Listen,
just the 1 year that he was
I'm
bad.
definitely. I don't disagree, but I wonder if he would have made this argument like 5 months ago.
No, I would have because the North Dakota State offense is a pro style offense. It's more pro style than any of the other quarterbacks in this draft. It's he's making changes at the line of scrimmage, taking the ball under center. It's a legitimate pro style offense. So I think Trey Lance, I think he could. He's got some serious potential at the next level. I like him a lot, and I've been a big
That
Trey
would
Lance
shake
guy.
some things up for sure.
Huh?
That would definitely shake some things up for sure.
Yeah, if it's not the Patriots, I could see if the Falcons stick there, I could see them taking Trey Lance there just because Matt Ryan's 36 years old. He could sit behind Ryan.
I'm pretty sure if the Falcons stick there, they'd take somebody like Pitts.
You think so? I could see him doing that. Arthur
Yeah.
Smith likes those
Doesn't seem like a
tight
Falcons
ends, those
type.
play action.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on to pick 5. So there's a lot of controversy on what the Bengals will do right now. Some people think they should go either Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase. Personally, I think they should go Penei Sewell, and that's what I have them taking here. I just think that you take the blue chip offensive tackle every time over a blue chip wide receiver or tight end. Every single time, because just trenches are so important. You win in the trenches in the NFL. How you win in the NFL is you protect the quarterback and get after the other quarterback, just straight up. Like, and especially after your franchise quarterback that you just took with the first overall pick had a season-ending injury like that, I don't know how you could justify taking a wide receiver over an offensive lineman like that. When we saw Joe Burrow every play just immediately under pressure, I feel like it'd be a disservice to Joe Burrow and in the franchise to take someone other than an offensive lineman here. The argument is that this is a deep tackle draft, so they could potentially get a starting tackle at the top of the second round. But that's not something I want to gamble with. I would want to take the blue chip offensive tackle and then see if I could get a decent wide receiver or tight end at the top of the second round and take that risk instead of the other way around. What do you guys think?
I mean, for me, I would probably go
You
with.
cut out.
For me, I would probably go with the Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase, but that's just
Really?
because, yeah, like I'm definitely like I believe exactly what you said in terms of building a team. It's like the you need big guys. It's in the trenches, like uh, O line, D line, quarterback. Those are like the
Mm-hmm.
top like things you like need to like work on. But it
Mm-hmm.
comes down to I think that a serviceable starter like it's still going to be an upgrade for their like O line. And if you think
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Pitts is like I don't know the goat tight end versus Penei Sewell, who like people have some like problems with, like it's not as a slam dunk as it seemed like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
That's what would worry me. Like if you like, it's all fine to say like, oh yeah, you take the blue chip Penei Sewell, but then what if he like, what if those problems were right and then he's bad? Like then
Mm-hmm.
you didn't get either thing. You didn't fix your O line because you probably you're not going to take another tackle at the top of the second too, even though in
Mm-hmm.
reality they probably should be taking a lot more than one tackle this draft.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, I do think that I think that like offensive line play is very important, obviously, but I also think most teams don't have a good O line, and there's not that good of O line play across the board in the league. Like it's I don't know, it's kind of a crapshoot with O line members. Like a lot of times it seems like it's hard to fill that position. But
Uh,
if I was the Bengals fan, I think I would want Kyle Pitts, but that's because I want Kyle Pitts
did
because he's supposed to be really good.
did we watch the same Super Bowl? What happened with one guy who had no protection throwing to the goat tight end,
He ran
and
He
into
was hurt
the GOAT
what about the
quarterback,
other guy?
and
What
the
about the
GOAT
other guy
because
quarterback
who
just put his team
because
over
they
the
were both
top.
had
hurt.
all day to
The
throw?
team still had him. They were just both hurt, and that's something you can't
Yeah,
control.
that could happen with Penei Sewell. Like they draft Penei Sewell, he gets hurt, and then they don't have him. Like
Yeah, that's true, but
you're
what
not going
I
to
mean, it
draft.
goes to the same with Kyle Pitts too. He could get hurt too. Like
You're not going
that's
to
why I
draft
take injuries out of it.
10 O linemen first overall or first round, so you can have like two all O lines to like start.
I'm just saying, like, I think that the offensive line is just a, left tackle is a premium position, whereas I don't view wide receiver or tight end as a premium position. And I wouldn't feel comfortable taking. I understand the argument for Pitts a lot more than Jamar Chase because I think
Yeah.
first of all Pitts is a better player than Chase is,
Mm-hmm.
and tight end is just a good tight end is more valuable than a number one wide receiver in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean,
yeah,
for me, it's like Pitts is the main one I'm talking about. It just comes down to I care the most about like not necessarily positional value, but like I would rather get the S like tier like high tier player than like a position of need, but you're just filling like a role, right? You're just like you're
mm,
getting your starter. Like I don't even know if you call it quality starter, but like it'd be like let's say Penei Sewell's like let's say he's like I don't know Cam Robinson as his ceiling or something. Like would you still take
ceiling.
Cam Robinson versus or Kyle Pitts if he's the go tight end like in that situation? So it's like a
I
solid starter that you're gonna be able to even give a second contract to. So like you are protecting your quarterback, but you're not getting the S like high tier player.
I mean, I guess with that argument, it just comes down to how you grade out Penei Sewell. If they grade him out as not a blue chip player, then take the blue chip player. But if they if they do grade him out as a blue chip tackle, then I think they should take him as that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've heard both. I've heard him. A lot of people have him as a blue chip tackle, but I've also heard the same argument. So I guess it just depends how the Bengals grade him out.
And that's just what would worry me. Like Kyle Pitts is like we go back to the same thing with like Saquon. Like I understand all the position values and I understand all these things, but in the end, like as a fan, so I don't know if it's selfishly, I would want to have Kyle Pitts because
After you just watched your franchise quarterback have a brutal knee injury.
yeah,
and miss the
I would
season.
also hope that my team would have signed some O linemen in free agency.
I
And,
wish Joel was on here because I know he agrees with me on the Penei Sewell take.
yeah, but we all
Probably
know
just 'cause
why
he's
Joel does.
Polynesian.
Indeed.
What
All right, all right, all right. Okay, so what do you think the ceiling of Chase is, though?
I think he's a top 5 receiver ceiling.
Julio Jones then?
Okay.
Calvin
No,
Johnson?
he's not that type. He's only 5'11". He's not that
So
kind
what
of.
do you think
Like,
the ceiling
he
of
plays bigger than
Sewell is?
5'11", but I think the ceiling of Sewell is like best tackle in football.
Hall of Famer?
Best tackle in football?
Yes, like that's what his potential is.
Okay, so what Sterling kind of said, I kind of get because this draft, it's very deep with linemen. So like low key, you could get a guy like Chase who's played with Burrow in college before, and if you truly think his ceiling is that high, grab him, and then in like the second and third rounds, then build your line that way.
I just
I mean
think
that's the way that I would roll personally.
I think that's taking a risk on taking whatever tackles are left. Like it's just too much of a risk for me. I would just take Penei Sewell.
It is
Keep
a
it
slight
moving.
risk, yeah.
For me, with like tackles, like later round tackles, I think there's a lot of like it's tackles. Why like I'm gonna compare them to running backs for a second, but like stay with me. Obviously, running backs aren't that valuable, and it's only because you can get them later on in the draft. Tackles are extremely hard to find, like the top end ones at least. So like they're way more valuable than running backs. But from like it seems once you're out of that S tier like high echelon of tackles, like in terms of just starters, I feel like they come in later rounds all the time. Like this that two to like 4 range for like O linemen, like especially guards. I know tackles are probably a little bit less so. Like but like it just seems like you can find quality like starters in those like later rounds. And so if they're telling me that it's a deep tackle class and that you can find a starter at the top of the second round, like to me that's it's I don't know it's worth it. Like I'd only do it for Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase if you perceive him that way. Like
I understand the argument, but to me, like I think wide receiver is much more dime a dozen than tackle is, and that's why I would take a risk on trying to find a wide receiver later in the draft than
Wideouts,
feel like
yes, but like top 5, no, they are not.
I feel like you hear a lot more about wide receivers becoming superstars, like from the second round, and later than you do with tackles. Like you could get a Terry McLaurin be a top 10 receiver in the third round.
Yeah.
Like there's tons of those kind of guys. Like no, like you might not get a Julio, but like you could still get a top 10 receiver, like top 5 receiver even like later.
All right. But why do you have Sewell over Slater? Because I've heard a bunch of people who have Slater as the best tackle.
I know a lot of people do too. I'm not going to get into the weeds of like offensive tackle film, but like
we need Tony Baselli on here.
Yeah. What has he said anything about Sewell or Slater?
No, see, like I haven't watched any of his stuff recently.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure
Sewell
he
is
has
just a
an
bit
opinion.
more raw, is what I've heard.
Yeah, Sewell's more raw. He's a lot younger. He's only 20, but he was bullying guys when he was 18 years old, just straight bullying. Like I can show you some of his film. Like he was blocking 2 guys at once, like 10 yards down the field. Like it was like dominant film. Like he didn't play this last year, but he's that big, that athletic when he's that young too. Like it's just the potential, and like all the O-line guys on Twitter I've seen have been saying that he's legit, and Chris Sims had him as his number 1 tackle too, and I hope Slater goes first because I have a little money on him going ahead of Sewell just because the odds were nice. But I think if I were the Bengals, I would take Sewell over Slater and definitely over Pitts and Jamar Chase.
Okay, sounds good.
Moving on to 6. So the Miami Dolphins. So I think they traded down. Okay, first of all, I said I was doing what I would do here, but I had to keep it relatively realistic as to what the teams will do also, because
you would have drafted
if I were the
quarterback.
Dolphins, literally, I would have not have traded out of 3 if I were the Dolphins. I would have taken Justin Fields there or another quarterback because I'm not a Tua believer at all. But so but going with what I think the Dolphins will do and what I would do, kind of trying to find that balance of both. I think they traded back up to 6 after they traded down to 12 because I think they want to be in position for Kyle Pitts or Jamar Chase, whichever one falls to them, because I think one of them will fall to them. And if I think both are on the board, I'm taking Kyle Pitts every time. And I hope that's I think that's who the Dolphins are hoping for that falls to them as well. Tua likes to throw those jump balls, and Kyle Pitts is just unguardable. He is a mismatch, like he is just a monster. So I have them taking Kyle Pitts there, but I guess they could go.
It'd just be
Jamar Chase
crazy
there.
because the Dolphins were at pick 3, right? And then they traded back and then traded back up again, right? So they pretty much got an extra first-round pick to move down to 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then if Kyle Pitts falls down to 6, that's just a steal. That would be.
Yeah.
Indeed.
The Dolphins are a well-run organization right now.
Yeah, definitely.
They got a lot of picks in next year's draft too, I think.
Yep.
I do want to say, I don't like this anti-Tua, like league-wide. Just they're bullying him. His stats aren't that bad.
Yeah.
Look at his season. It's not
He got
that
benched
bad.
twice, man. It's
Yeah,
the
but
eye test.
he saying he got benched twice. That's like, he didn't he didn't benched because he was throwing like 3 picks in a
He
game.
got benched because he wasn't going to win them the game.
Yeah, because they were
He got benched because they had
Ryan Fitzpatrick,
Fitzpatrick.
who was like
That's why.
20 years of 30 years or 40 years of experience.
Yeah.
There does no like.
Listen, Tua,
That's the only
Tua
reason
is
he
a
got
system
benched.
quarterback. He's nothing special, and I've always
We'll
said
see.
this even coming out of college. We can run back my analysis of Tua from last year's podcast, and it is exactly what I said would happen.
He's
just a system quarterback.
He was also injured. Like,
And that's what I also said about Tua.
Injured,
Injury-prone
camps.
quarterback.
well, he was already injured when they drafted him, though. He didn't get injured last year. He was already injured.
I think
Yeah.
did
He was
hurt his
recovering.
ankle last year.
Huh?
I think he did hurt his ankle last year, if I remember
But
correctly.
he never even fully
He
recovered from
hurt
his
his
other
hip
injury.
in college.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
was,
I know he hurt his hip in college, but he was good to go by the start of the season.
I don't know. Based on the way the league talked about him, I was like thinking he was like bust. Like, oh man, he must have been terrible. And then I look at his stats and he has twice as many touchdowns as picks. And I'm like, what is the bar for quarterbacks now? Like,
You just have to wait a little bit longer. You just have to wait a little bit.
It is tough, especially when you're in the same class as Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, who come out and immediately are just dominant. But
Yeah, I
I
know.
guess that's just the precedent for rookie quarterbacks nowadays. But moving
people would
on
be saying
to-
Peyton Manning's a bust in today's league, man. They would be like,
Literally.
oh,
They
you gotta
definitely
you gotta
would.
draft a new quarterback. You gotta ditch him. Why?
28 picks his first year.
Literally, he was bad his first year. But moving on to pick 7, the Lions. So I have them taking Jamar Chase here. Lions. Go ahead and just name a Lions receiver for me, fellas.
Marvin Jones got moved, right?
Yeah, he's on the Jaguars. Man, that
Yeah,
guy's
they got
personality,
moved.
pretty good.
Name a wide receiver.
Listen, the Lions don't have players, man. Oh, Jared Goff.
Yeah, they have
That's what they
players.
have.
That's the quarterback.
They're
yeah.
tight end TJ.
Oh yeah.
That's Hawk, yeah. That's
TJ
tight end.
Hawkinson.
Talk about wide receivers though.
Oh, that's tough, man. Golden Tate
Yeah.
got cut.
See, it's funny because you are in their division. It seems like you would have a better chance of knowing one.
I know they moved a bunch of them, so who?
All right, so we got Tyrell Williams, Rashad Perriman.
Which they just signed from.
Tyrell Williams
Oh, yeah,
isn't
they
bad.
just signed.
That's not bad.
They just signed Tyrell Williams.
It's a nice
Oh,
number
yeah.
3.
He's probably their best receiver right now. Rashad Perriman, Khalif Raymond,
Rashad Perryman, that's right, yeah.
Khalif Raymond, Geronimo Allison, Tom Kennedy, Victor Bolden Jr., Quintez Cephas, and Damian Ratley. So it is
They
just
definitely need some
So
help.
they had Tyrell Williams. That's who they have.
literally.
I don't
that's
even.
it.
I literally don't know those other players. Like I have no idea who those are.
Khalif Raymond.
Geronimo used to play for the Packers.
Yeah,
I'm
Rashad Perriman is just one of those first-round busts, like Philip Dorsett,
Journeyman.
speedy types. He's like one of the John Ross, Philip Dorsett players. But Khalif Raymond was a return specialist from the Titans. Like he's a pretty good punt returner, but that's really all he is. He's nothing special. And then Quintez Cephas is like slow, but he was a rookie last year. He was a late-round pick, and he was just slow, like 4.7, I think he was. He's nothing special. But so yeah, I have them taking Jamar Chase here. I think Jamar Chase is the number one wide receiver in this class, but I don't think it's like a runaway thing. Like I like Waddle and I really like Devontae Smith a lot. It's
Yep.
just I don't understand. Like I kind of understand all the hype with Jamar Chase. I would say he's my wide receiver one, but like I just don't think he's like a Julio like type player. Like they say he's the best wide receiver to come out since Julio, but like what other top end wide receivers have come out since Julio? Like Amari Cooper. Like who else really has there been? Like I don't think it's saying as much as people think it's saying when they say he's the best wide receiver prospect to come out since Julio. You know.
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Like,
it
I really
was like
think
it was
Amari
Sammy
Cooper.
Watkins and Amari Cooper.
Yeah, so like
But
all the-
Sammy
or
Watkins
what-
was an insane talent, like in college at
yeah,
least.
but like all the best wide receivers
Couldn't
to
stay
come
healthy.
out, all the best wide receivers now, I mean, are like they weren't top end wide receivers coming out of college. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like Odell wasn't like he was like what the fourth wide receiver off the board in the draft or something
That's
like that.
that year was stacked though.
Yeah, it was. But so yeah, like I like Jamar Chase. I just wouldn't say he's like a Julio
Mhm.
type player. Like he is 5'11", but he's built like a running back body, so he's thick and he like plays bigger than like his height, like winning jump balls and stuff. But he didn't play this last year, so we didn't really get to see him without Joe Burrow and Joe Brady. And I don't know. He did outplay Justin Jefferson when they played together. And Justin Jefferson's amazing, so he could be really good. But I'm just not as high on him as it sounds like the rest of people are. But that doesn't mean I'm like low on him. I still think he's going to be a really good player. Like he has top 5 wide receiver potential, but I don't think he's Julio.
So the thing about the Lions I want to ask you guys, are they like the worst team in the league right now in terms of prospects and like what are they doing? Like
I
What-
definitely think they're a top 3 or like a top 5 worst.
Are you
worst
talking about
team
like the
for
trend
sure.
of the team?
yeah, like what is there to be excited about on that team, man? Like at least
It all lies on Jared Goff.
when they got Jared Goff, I was thinking they were still going to draft a quarterback. Like I was thinking that
No,
was just they took Jared Goff
their
to take
GM
the salary and get that first round pick, like the extra one.
The GM who traded for Jared Goff is directly from the Rams, and he was the one who pounded the table for Jared Goff to get drafted. He's very high on Jared Goff,
Mhm.
and I think he specifically wanted Jared Goff.
No,
So-
I agree, based on what I've seen since.
So yeah, I think it's
It's just what are they?
That's probably why he's not in the Rams anymore.
They're like
It's not like he
they
got
hired
fired, though.
Dan Campbell, which, I mean, I don't know, it's funny, but like, there's no way you can get excited for that. Like,
You're not excited about biting kneecaps, Dylan? The dude on his nameplate, Dan Campbell, the dude.
I can't say that I am. I don't know, man. Lions fans have been through a lot,
yeah.
and it doesn't
Yeah, they really have.
it doesn't seem like it's gonna get any better. But
Yeah.
who's to say? 5 years from now, they probably win a Super Bowl, and this will just be one of those.
I mean, they don't really have any prospects to be excited about, really, besides like Hawkinson. Like, I wouldn't be excited about Okuda. Like,
Would you be excited about Hawkinson anymore either?
I mean,
Wasn't he injured
yeah,
both
He's
seasons?
pretty good.
No, he was good this last year.
What, do you have over 1,000
He
yards?
was also a top 10 pick, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's one of the highest tight ends drafted in the last decade. Was he?
But like, I mean, he's already on the team, so like,
Did
you
he?
have to be excited about him.
Did he have 1,000 yards last season?
No,
Oh,
he's
no.
a tight end. He had 723 yards and 6 touchdowns, which is like a solid season. But it's like,
That's pretty good for a tight end.
But
But
he like,
okay.
I guess they did a bit more. They had better receivers last year. Why didn't they keep one of the receivers
yeah,
that
they
they
had
had?
Galladay.
Why didn't they keep
I
Galladay?
don't know why they let him walk. I truly have no idea. Maybe
Why
Galladay
didn't they
wanted
sign
out.
a better coach?
Could they? I don't know if they could.
Who wants to go to Detroit, man?
I don't know. Yeah, there's not a lot to be excited about as a Lions fan, except for now Jamar Chase, who I have them picking.
See,
would you
now
guys
I'm
have
convinced that
taken
Jamar Chase is gonna bust if he's going to the Lions. Like
You
it's
guys
gonna be
wouldn't
Sammy
have him
Watkins,
taking-
Amari Cooper 2.0.
Amari Cooper's not a bust.
No,
Like,
so,
Amari
yeah,
Cooper's
it'll be Amari Cooper on the Oakland Raiders. Like they'll trade him to some high mark. He'll go to the Packers somehow, and then it'll be like the what he was supposed to be in the draft. Like what happened with Amari Cooper.
So would you guys have them taking Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith over Jamar Chase?
Like and what I think would happen, or what I would want to happen.
What you would
Maybe
do?
Jalen Waddle, maybe. But
Mhm.
I can see him taking Chase.
Mhm.
I would take trucking Mac Jones, man.
Mac
With
Jones
what's
is,
left.
Yeah.
Like then at least
Probably would
I
too,
feel like I would
yeah.
start getting like, oh, we're trying to do something. Like we're going to replace
Yeah,
Stafford.
no, Yeah.
Like I said, I tried to like meld what I would do
Mhm.
with keeping it relatively realistic at the same time. So moving on to pick 8, Carolina Panthers. So before they traded for Sam Darnold and picked up his 5th year. See, when they traded for Sam Darnold, they immediately picked up his 5th year option, and I think they did that signified that like he's our guy. Let's rock
Mhm.
with Sam Darnold because they didn't have to. He's not on his 5th year right now. Like it's just what is it,
Well,
4th going into his 3rd or 4th year
it's
or
his fourth.
4th
He's
year
going
I
into his
think.
fourth. You have to pick it up
Yeah,
right
But
now.
it's also it's also not very much money too. It's what, like 20 million, I
Yeah.
think, or something like that. Like
Mhm.
19
I
or
don't
20.
think they had to pick it up though.
You,
Like right now.
if it was like they didn't have to pick it up probably right when the trade happened. Like they have to pick it up this offseason though. If
This
it
offseason
if it's
or
going
next
into your
offseason?
if he's going into his fourth, like the 5th year option is like a deadline thing. You have to pick it up before you go into that like
The
the
5th year, I
yeah.
thought.
It's after it's after your 4th season, right?
Yeah, so it's next offseason they would have had to.
Yeah.
So they didn't have they did it one off season early, and I think they did that to show to kind of give him some confidence, like you're our guy.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, definitely.
that's why I don't have them taking a quarterback here. I have them taking Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle, out of Auburn, because I think they need some tackle help. I think they have Taylor Moton. I think he plays right tackle. I think he's pretty solid. But other than that, I don't think they have that great of an offensive line. Um, and Sam Darnold's going to need an offensive line because he already sees ghosts. And when in doubt,
And he hasn't really had a good one for his whole career, so.
yeah. And I think Rashawn Slater is the best player available, and it matches up with their needs. So I think that's why I have them taking here. So what do you guys think?
What pick is this? Is it 8?
Yeah,
It
Yeah.
seems like when the blue chippers are done.
yeah. I don't think he's a blue chip player, but I think he's the best tackle on the board, and best player available. Right? Well, actually, that's not.
I think
true.
that's a great pick. Yeah.
There are 2 better players than him, but they have injury concerns, so that's
What-
why I don't have them.
What happened to the Panthers last year? They were like good, kind of, but then they weren't winning games at the
They
end.
started out
Bridgewater's
like
bad.
4-0 or like 5-1, and then they just lost.
What
the
was their
rest
problem? Are they like a did they have a good
I think
defense?
Bridgewater is their problem.
of Bridgewater.
But I mean, he's a playoff caliber quarterback in terms
Well,
of
maybe
man-
on a
not.
stacked
in terms of
roster.
managing the game. He took the Vikings
Maybe
to
if
the
you've
playoffs.
made it and he has to play then all right, maybe. But he's not going to bring you to the playoffs.
So like it was
No.
offense then. They were struggling on offense.
Yeah.
I
They
think it was a
have
mix of
stacked-
both.
Well, Christian McCaffrey was hurt too. They have
Yeah.
a lot of talent on offense for like weapon wise because I really like DJ Moore. I think he could be top 10 receiver. Christian McCaffrey speaks for himself. I think Robbie Anderson's a very underrated player.
Yep.
Yeah, I wanted
Oh,
Robbie
me too.
Anderson last year.
Yeah. And then they had Curtis Samuel as well, but Curtis Samuel's now on the football team. But yeah, they had some nice weapons and and their defense is I think wasn't a little bit underrated if I remember.
I feel like I see
Yeah,
Panthers
some-
fans.
They have some nice
They
pieces on defense. They
drafted
got
a lot
Brian
of great
Burns.
players for it.
They
Yeah.
had Derek Brown, if you guys remember him from last year's class, he
Mhm.
was really good as a rookie. But yeah, so Rashawn Slater for the Panthers at 8. So moving to pick 9, I guess this is where I can talk about what Chamba wanted for the Broncos. So he called me today and gave me the rundown on what he was hoping for. He really wants them to go either Trey Lance or Justin Fields. But
Of course he
they're not
does.
available here.
Of course he does.
I asked him if he would be interested in Mac Jones at all, and he was a hard no on Mac Jones. So he was saying, he was telling me that what we've seen from Drew Lock is probably what he is. But then he also told me that Drew Lock has the potential to get better. So I don't know what he really meant by what he meant by that. So
Oh, Chamba.
I don't know where he stands on Drew Lock really. But he was saying if the 2 quarterbacks he wanted were not available, he wanted them to either take Micah Parsons or Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the linebackers. But I think it's a bit rich for Micah Parsons would be all right here talent-wise. It's just he has some character concerns, which is why I could see him falling in the draft a little bit. But right now I actually have the Broncos trading down and someone moving up for a quarterback. Can you guys take any guesses?
You have the Saints trading up for a quarterback.
No.
That was it.
Okay, I have the Chicago Bears trading up for Mac Jones, and let me tell you why.
Hey.
I cannot see Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace going out with the whimper that is Andy Dalton. I just cannot see them just saying, "Yep, Andy Dalton's our quarterback. I'm fine with just going out, getting fired with going down with Andy Dalton." Like, I think they will be. I think they should. This is what I would do if I were them. I think they should be aggressive and try to upgrade the quarterback position because, hey, listen, if if Mac Jones works out, congrats, you guys extended your jobs. If he doesn't work out, oh well, you guys aren't going to make those picks that you just traded away anyways. So I
Exactly.
don't see why they wouldn't trade up for Mac Jones because if they ride with Andy Dalton, they're going to get fired. I'm sorry, there's just they are like they should have Loki might they should have been fired for the Trubisky incident, but somehow they're still here. And if I were them, I would be aggressive for trying to move up for a quarterback. And I think Mac Jones would be an upgrade over Andy Dalton.
I mean, I don't necessarily fully agree, just because I think that Andy Dalton is a like fairly serviceable quarterback. I think that
Hmm.
I mean the Bengals, from what I've heard about that ownership and like the way they run their team, like they're like literally trying to like save money. And I think that the one year that Andy Dalton had like a lot of talent both sides of the ball, and then they still had, which nowadays I'm starting to believe maybe Marvin Lewis was like a genius head coach dealing with that kind of
Loki,
ownership. Like they like Andy Dalton looked really like pretty good. Like he looked like pretty serviceable, and I think Andy Dalton's already an upgrade to Mitchell Trubisky, and
yeah,
they made the playoffs 3 out of 4 years with Mitchell Trubisky. Like
yeah, but they were never a threat to do anything.
yeah, I mean, and like I don't think it's the NBA though. I think like in the NFL you make the playoffs, you don't get fired. Like
I think as a GM, you have to make moves that get your fan base excited, and I
yeah.
just cannot see them have like the fans being excited about Andy Dalton, man.
See, but I think as a GM, you have to make moves that make sure you don't get fired. And there's an easy scenario. If they trade for Mac Jones and do that, right? And like let's say Mac Jones looks really good, but they don't make the playoffs because he's a rookie quarterback. It's gonna be hard. I still think
Hmm.
they would get fired. Like I don't think,
Really?
yeah, I don't think the owner. Like I think the owner would be like, oh, like yeah, like you take the chance you get rid of him. Like it's like what happened with Justin Herbert. That didn't buy
Hmm.
that coach any leeway, and he wasn't even on the hot seat going into the season. It was
Well, the thing with Anthony Lynn is he was taking on too much on his plate. He was having dipping his fingers in offense, defense, and special teams, and then multiple points. They blew a bunch of leads, and then multiple, like in the Patriots game, that special teams meltdown. 3 separate occasions, they had like 12 people on the field. Like
mm,
it was a disaster
to
for
me that's
Anthony
not
Lynn.
fireable though. Like I think that a lot of times unless you are set on like let's say you're in your first year or I mean I the owner could have told them like what you're saying like the owner could have been like no you can take a quarterback you're fine as long as he's good like we won't like I don't know what like is going on with that but if I from the outside source like a lame duck GM trying to take a rookie quarterback to like save his job to me that never works out like even like the
Hmm.
only way that works is they still make the playoffs like that's how
Hmm.
good they end up being because like if let's say Mac Jones wins Rookie of the Season, like let's say like he's looking in like Justin Herbert level, but they go 2-14, they're gonna fire those people. Like
But the thing is, if he plays at a Justin Herbert level, they're not going 2-14. Like
their
that
defense could
defense
be
is really
like
good.
yeah, but
Yeah,
like I mean, listen, the thing I learned about defenses, it'll go quick. You
that's
don't
true.
always get to you don't always get to like when you build around the
Hmm.
roster, not the quarterback. Your window is not as long, and it can
Hmm.
end in a heartbeat. Like I think that Andy Dalton is like I mean I still believe in the Andy Dalton effect. Like if you have a quarterback better than Andy Dalton, like you're feeling good, and if you have a quarterback worse, then you probably need to upgrade. Like I
Hmm.
think Andy Dalton is pretty good. Like I don't think he's makes him a Super Bowl contender, but I don't think they're going to be a Super Bowl contender anytime soon. Like
Hmm.
they're like they need either to fully go in on the roster or fully get Deshaun Watson, but we'll we'll find out what goes
So
on with that later.
if they don't trade up for Mac Jones, I could see maybe the football team making an aggressive move up for Mac Jones, and I could see the Bears maybe taking a receiver like a Rashad Bateman or Terrace Marshall Jr.
Mhm.
because Allen Robinson franchise tag he doesn't really want to be there. And then I think Anthony Miller they're trying to trade him or something, and that really only leaves like Darnell Mooney
Who
and
had a great
they're
first year though.
yeah, but their receiving room is not looking good outside of A-Rob, who's
That's
on
true.
his way out by the looks of it.
Well, yeah, Allen Robinson really didn't want to be on the tag this year. I will say
Yeah.
that the Washington team, I think that is the exact perfect scenario. Like that's the scenario I'm talking about for like a people that feel like they could take a rookie quarterback on and not get
Mhm.
fired based on the way the first year goes.
Mm-hmm.
I just think
Yeah,
that I just think the Bears they've been a playoff, like, they're still going to compete for the playoffs this year. Like unless their defense takes a step back, which is very possible because roster like building around your roster, it doesn't you gotta find a quarterback quick, or you gotta keep building your roster. You gotta keep building it up.
Yeah.
So like I could see them going out like with a whimper, as you said, because the roster doesn't perform up to what it needs to. They go 6-10, 5-11, something like that, and they get fired
Mm-hmm.
because Andy Dalton definitely isn't going to elevate subpar roster. But like, let's say their roster was improved from last year, or like they get back to
Mhm.
even like how they were in, was it 20?
They lost Kyle Fuller.
That's their
Yes, they
cornerback, yeah.
did.
And that one was
Yeah.
strange too, right? They
Yeah, it
cut
was
him.
really strange. Yeah.
So yeah,
He was one of the best players last year too.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm saying, like I'm not like saying that the Bears are going to be good, but I I can't see them trying to draft it like I think that you become risk averse when you're in that lame duck. Like you like when
Mhm.
you're worried about getting fired, that's screams Andy Dalton to me. Like yeah, you go like let's make sure we get an upgrade over Trubisky. That's all we need to do. And like
Yeah, I guess that's just the difference between me and them is I would be swinging for the fences.
yeah,
Like, let's go get a rookie quarterback because if we get fired, like I feel like Andy Dalton, if I were to sign him, then that would get me fired for sure because
Mhm.
I don't think he would elevate the team like you said. Whereas Mac Jones, like if we get fired, like
yeah.
oh well, we're not making those picks anyways.
This is why lame duck coaching staffs don't make any sense. The ownership should
Right.
like if their ownership is like done with you, then they should just be done with you. And if they
Exactly. I
are
think
going
he
to
should
give
have
you
been fired a
seasons,
long time ago.
yeah, they should just let you like if the ownership cared this much about them botching Mitchell Trubisky, then they should have fired him after it didn't work out, even when they were making the playoffs.
Ryan Pace is literally only GM. His only like good move as GM is trading for Khalil Mack, and like okay, that's like a no-brainer type thing. If Khalil Mack is available for 2 firsts, I feel like a lot of people would do that. Like,
Well,
I don't
especially
feel like
with
that's like
didn't Oakland have to send a pick back to them too?
yeah, I think it was I can't
That
remember what
trade,
pick it
man.
was. Yeah, it
They,
was
they, they,
interesting.
they gave up like a second or something or a third or
That was
something.
Gruden, right?
Yeah. What did they
Yeah,
gave something big back.
we'll get to Gruden here in a second later in the draft. But moving on to pick number 10, the Cowboys. So apparently they're like enamored with Kyle Pitts. So good luck with that, Jerry, trying to get up there for Pitts. But
What if they trade up for him?
Jerry
I
World
mean,
would not shock me, Lemons. Would
that'd be
not shock me.
crazy to me. I think that would be like I don't know. I just they got to help out the defense, man. Like we saw that last
No,
I know.
year.
never. Only offense. They're just gonna they're gonna blow the doors off every team, but they're also gonna just lose every game.
It's gonna be 50-point shootouts every single game.
Hey, that'll get the fans in though, you know.
It would, I guess, if Jerry only cares about making money. But I have them taking Patrick Surtain II out of Alabama, cornerback.
Most
Yeah, I
people
think
do, yeah.
yeah, I think they really need corner help. I don't think he's the best corner in the class, but I think he's the best corner without health concerns. So I think that's who they probably go with. I could see them maybe taking a jump on J.C. Horn here, but I would not. So you guys got any thoughts on that, or just want to move on to the next pick?
I like Patrick
That makes
Surtain.
sense to me. Yeah. Sounds good.
Before we signed,
Shaquille Griffin.
yeah, before we signed, it's like 'cause he has a brother. I always forget which one
Yeah.
is which. Before we signed Shaquille Griffin, I was a fan of Patrick Surtain, but it was also before he had moved up so consistently to being the
Yeah.
top corner. I feel like early mock drafts had him as more of a late first rounder.
I imagined Dilla probably talks about him a lot because Dilla's an Alabama fan.
Oh
Right?
yeah, indeed.
Yeah. But yeah, Patrick Surtain's a good player. He tested really well at his pro day, so he got no concerns. He comes from NFL bloodlines. I think his dad played corner. I think too. He was in the NFL. I'm not sure that he was a corner, but he was definitely in the NFL. So he has those NFL bloodlines. So I think he'll be a good player. Moving on to pick 11, New York Giants. So I could see them going a couple ways here. They need receiver help, but they also just signed Kenny Galladay. I could see Dave Gettleman, he likes his hog molly.
But I
I
mean,
can see him going in
they still have Sterling Sharp, right? And then
Shepard.
they have oh yeah, Shepard. But I'm pretty sure they have one more dude, right? So now they have Galladay, Shepard, and then one more person, right?
Oh, what was his name? Yeah, Darius Slayton.
Yeah. So I mean, that's pretty good.
It's all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they
I
still
don't
have
know.
Sterling Shepard?
I swear they still do. Here, I'll look it up.
Here, I got it. I think they do. Yeah, they still do.
Who's the best player available right now?
Right now,
Mm-hmm.
well, the two best players available right now are still the guys with injury concerns.
Mm-hmm.
Who?
Caleb Farley and Jalen Phillips.
Okay.
But I have them taking Jalen Waddle here, out of Alabama. I could see them going to Devontae Smith here.
Yeah.
But Dave Gettleman, man, I could see him. Here's the two schools of thought I could see Dave Gettleman having. I could see Dave Gettleman saying, "There's no chance I ever draft a wide receiver who weighs 170 pounds. Like, oh, that's not a real football player. He only weighs 170 pounds. You know how Dave Gettleman is." But also, I could say Dave Gettleman just saying, "Oh man, screw analytics.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the film. This guy can play. He can just get open." So it could go either way with Dave Gettleman. I don't know which one it's going to be, but I tend to lean with I don't think Dave Gettleman would draft a 170-pound wide receiver, but I don't know. I could see it going.
I bet
both
you
ways.
he's in that ladder.
Yeah.
You think he's
Yeah.
in the screw the analytics?
And the only reason why is because of what Brett Favre said.
About they should take him first overall.
Yeah, that Devontae Smith should be first overall.
Brett Favre said that?
Yeah, dude.
When did he say that?
He said it like a few months ago.
Oh.
Brett Favre is he's losing all credibility at like a fast rate
CTE,
limits.
man, or something.
CTE for sure.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe when he said that. He was saying he said he was Randy Moss.
You still wouldn't take Randy Moss over the quarterback, man. I'm sorry. But yeah. So.
But I thought the Giants' line play was pretty bad last year too, right?
D line
or O-line?
Yeah, I think if they don't take receiver here, I could see him going D line. I could see him going like Kwity Paye out of Michigan. I just feel like Dave Gettleman, that when in doubt, he usually goes like trenches. So maybe they could go O line too. They just drafted O line. They just drafted a left tackle last year in the top 5, Andrew Thomas.
If the Giants took Mac Jones, would you think that was a good pick for them if they moved on from the quarterback?
I wouldn't be upset with them moving on from Daniel Jones. I feel like a lot of people might be, especially if it's Mac Jones who they're moving on to.
I think they should move on from him, but not for Mac Jones.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset with it as long as they didn't have to trade up to do it. I wouldn't trade up if I were them to get Mac Jones, but if he was there and I was a Giants fan, I wouldn't be upset.
What pick number is this?
11.
I guess we're getting into that range where I think if Mac Jones is still here, like one of
bunch of teams are gonna just take
one
him.
of those late teams are going to trade up for him, like the Saints or something. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Mac Jones is gonna I feel like the ball was rolling on him. Maybe
I think he's going to be a top 10 pick. I think there's 5 quarterbacks in the top 10. I really think there might be.
Like I'm still not convinced he's not going third overall. But I would say that when Chris Sims was saying that, I was getting falling fully into it. But then he had that pro day.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, pro days don't actually mean anything.
Right.
Kyle Trask had an amazing pro day, and he's gonna be like a 7th round undrafted guy. So
yeah. I don't know. With Mac Jones, it's interesting. I don't know what to believe with it. I could see Kyle liking him a lot, Kyle Shanahan taking him third, but I could also see Kyle wanting a more prolific player. But
what about the Saints?
As you should for trading per.
100%.
Saints, I think they're out of quarter. I think it'd cost way too much to move up. I think they're just going to be comfortable rolling with Jameis for the time.
What are they at? They're at
20. They are at 28.
And it would be going up to let's say Mac Jones falls to 15, right?
That's the Patriots' original pick.
Yeah.
So
who
I
was
could
this?
see the Patriots trying to move up for him if he falls, if they didn't already move up. But it's because there are other QB needy teams in front of the Saints too, like the football team and Bears, who might want to move up if he falls.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
And you already had Mac Jones going to the Bears in your mock, right?
Yeah, at 9. There is a point in the draft though, kind of a no man's land for quarterback, from that from 10 to
15. I feel like.
Yeah, from 10 to like the 20s.
Oh.
No one really like needs a quarterback until like
Mhm.
19, where the football team is.
I'm like to
but-
me, I think there's gonna be quarterbacks in those picks. Like people are gonna trade for like some like. It,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It just seems like that's where you get those trade ups a lot of times, except for the blockbuster ones that happen before the draft. Like I feel like draft day, like quarterback people trade up into the teens, like
Yeah.
that area, and they get their quarterback of the future, and they end up panning out.
And if I'm not convinced that the Broncos wouldn't just take him at 9 if he was there. Like we don't know.
Mhm.
Like John Elway's not.
Oh
running
yeah,
the show
I never got to
anymore.
like. I think the Broncos would 100% take Mac Jones. Like John Elway is not fine with John Elway. John Elway's not fine with Drew Lock. I mean, I'm sure he's fine with
John
it.
Elway's not running the show anymore though. It's
Oh,
David
yeah.
GM now.
Thank God. Thank God.
Yeah.
he isn't.
So I guess that would change it. I would say if John Elway was still GM, they're drafting a quarterback because I don't know. Just John Elway seems like the guy that's like he's obsessive. It's like he's like
He missed
up
on so
up
many
at yeah.
quarterbacks,
He's
man.
up at night like thinking about it. Like I need to draft a quarterback that's like as good as me. Like that's the only way my legacy can move on.
He drafted Paxton Lynch and
I
Drew
know,
Lock.
indeed. The thing about Paxton Lynch though, like it's the
Trevor
same.
Siemian.
Well, Simeon was a 7th round pick though. It's like he drafted Chad
Ew.
Kelly in the 7th round too.
Paxton Lynch was supposed to be a
Wait,
first round pick. It's like Mitch
He was a
Trubisky
first
thing.
round pick.
Like
Yeah.
it's easy to in hindsight just thrash them, but like the general consensus for those guys were they were first round picks.
Yeah, but like, not really though. I wasn't high on Paxton Lynch when he was coming out.
I literally don't even know what season that was. That's with Winston them, right? Winston Goff?
Oh, I can't remember. I thought it was the.
You're probably right. Like I don't even know. I just
Let
remember
me check.
it was such a weird year for names. I decided that in the Paxton in the Jared Goff.
It was the Wentz year.
Indeed.
2016.
In that year, I decided that they weren't going to be good based on their names, all of them. I was like Carson Wentz and Jared Goff. Those are the weirdest names I've ever heard. Like, there's no way those guys pan out. And then the best one was Paxton Lynch, but that's still a ridiculous name.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Jalen Waddle, New York Giants, 11. That's why I have him taking. I could see Jalen Waddle going ahead of Jamar Chase just because we know how teams view those 4-2 guys. But
Yeah, that's true.
So, pick number 12, the Eagles. So, I have them taking Devontae Smith here because I think they need receiver help a lot. I think Devontae Smith's a really good player. I could also see.
Do you really think he's going to fall that far, though?
I have no idea, man. Talent-wise, I don't think he should, but 170-pound thing, that I know how teams in the NFL are. Some people will take him off their board just because of his weight. It's just what will happen.
That's so stupid. That's so
It is,
dumb.
but like you know how teams are, man. Like
Yeah.
teams, well, a lot of teams just won't like the fact that he's 170 pounds. Like it's, even though he never really had injury problems. He was always getting open. Like he didn't have separation problems. Like some teams will just see that and just he's gonna get hurt at the next level. They're gonna say that, and I think that if the Eagles don't take him here, he could fall a little bit more even. But at the end of the day, I really don't know where he's gonna end up. Like I could see it going both ways. All it takes is one team to fall in love with him. But if they don't go Devontae Smith here, I could see them going maybe J.C. Horn going corner. In fact, this is what I would do. So if I were them, I would take Devontae Smith. But what I think will happen is I think they would take J.C. Horn here over Devontae Smith if they were both available. But
how come the Eagles are always perpetually in a state of trying to find a receiver? I feel like they drafted one last year. Like
yeah, they drafted. Yeah, they did.
Rager.
And it was a reach last year.
Didn't they draft him before that too?
They drafted. Was it 2 or 3 years ago? They drafted J.J. Arcega-Whiteside over DK Metcalf in the second round, and everyone roasted it then too. Like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is not good, wasn't good coming out. The Eagles just. Howie Roseman's a bad GM. They're a poor
Roseman, yeah, he's really not. He's really
they're
bad
trending
at drafting
down.
wideouts.
But
I think it was Jeff Lurie was the one who pounded the table for J.J. Arcega-Whiteside over DK Metcalf that one year. But yeah, Jalen Reagor was a reach last year, and they just I don't know they're
because they still had Justin Jefferson available, right?
Yeah.
And that's what everyone thought they were going to do.
I think they might have taken. Yeah, I think it was Reagor over J.J., which is hilarious.
Yep, 100%. Now, Reagor was hurt most of the year, so I don't think it's fair to like judge him yet. but
Yeah,
still,
and
they
the Nick
looked really
Sirianni
bad.
offense will suit his skill set better because Nick Sirianni's offense is all about getting the ball quickly in the hands of playmakers, getting them going in space, and that fits Jalen Rager's game because he's one of those smaller speed guys. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, like we were talking about with the lines, like we were talking about teams that like
Trending down.
have a
Indeed.
bleak future. Like the Eagles got to be one of them, man.
But I was
Definitely.
because I was gonna say like they're definitely trending down, but then they won a Super Bowl like 5 years ago. Like they're fine.
2017.
Yeah, they're fine. Like the Lions have never been to a Super Bowl, haven't
Yeah.
haven't won anything.
They haven't won a playoff game in like 25 years, man.
The Eagles need to blow it up and just
Yeah. hmm
restart.
They
Start
do.
from
Because-
scratch.
They
Yeah,
should have.
I
They
don't-
should
I
have
don't-
done it after like you try to run it back with your Super Bowl team. Once that kind of didn't work out, that's when they should have done it.
And if I was the Eagles, I would not have traded down from 6 because I would have wanted to upgrade from Jalen Hurts. How are you guys feeling about Jalen Hurts?
I think you give him this year, but if he doesn't show it this year, then he's probably not the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
personally, I mean he showed a lot last year, but I still don't think he's gonna be like amazing. Or
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know.
Get me wrong.
I
I'd
don't
take
know.
him over Tua and them, but like
Mhm. I wouldn't.
Yeah, but that's still not really saying too much. So.
Exactly.
For me, if Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, those types, any of them are available, I would take a quarterback. If not, I will 100% start Jalen Hurts, but that with the intention of drafting a quarterback next year. So you start
Mm-hmm.
like you're just playing for the future. Like
Yeah. So, moving on to pick 13, the Los Angeles Chargers. I've been taking Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle out of Virginia Tech. So, Darrisaw is he's a really good left tackle prospect. I could see the Chargers going J.C. Horn here, and in fact, I expect them to if J.C. Horn's on the board because they need corner help really badly. But they also need offensive line and specifically tackle help really badly. And with the young quarterback, I'm always going to prioritize offensive line over just about everything, especially like with that young quarterback. So I would take Christian Darrisaw here, but I expect them to take J.C. Horn if he's available. What do you guys think?
That sounds good to me. Yeah, I would do the same thing.
we'll get into that range of
Yeah.
I don't know all that many
Uh-huh.
of these.
No, but
people.
didn't the Chargers? I'm pretty sure they just signed a lineman. He used to play for us actually. Who used to play for
Corey
the
Linsley.
Packers? Yeah. So they
He's a center.
just
though.
signed him. So
Corey Linsley
Yeah,
is the best
yeah.
center in football.
What is it that the Chargers even need?
I'm sad that we let him go.
Yeah.
What,
The
like, what are
Chargers
the-
need
They need corner
Go.
help and offensive line.
and a better coach.
You know,
Oh.
like who was the the defensive coordinator from? Was it Staley? Yeah.
Well, I'm saying I'm hoping he's a better coach, but Lynn sucked last year.
Oh,
he
you're
was an
talking
awful coach last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
'Cause
so they
they-
just signed. What was I saying?
No, I'm just saying like they lost so many games because of his coaching.
Literally. But yeah, they signed Staley to be their coach, and he's a defensive-minded head coach. So I think you might want to get a corner in there to
Yeah, that's
be
true.
as Jalen Ramsey. But
I know we already talked about the Falcons, but what do you guys think about their coach? Because personally, I was not a fan of.
yeah, I wasn't really a huge fan of Arthur Smith either.
Like because we were in the coaching search this year, and he was one of the ones they talked about.
Yeah.
To
From
me,
the Titans, right?
yeah, the Titans' offense. I mean, it's really good, but like we all know why that offense runs.
It was literally just play action.
Why?
Well, Derrick Henry's a Hall of Fame, like insane 2,000 yard season running back, and then they can just do play action with. And AJ Brown's
Okay,
really
but
good too.
It's not like it's his first year on that team. Like he's been on the Titans, I think, for like 4 or 5 years. But then when Smith came in, but then when Smith came in, and then he benched Mariota, and then Tanny came in. Like, dude, it was a world of difference. Like it was insane. It was insane. So I personally think he has the potential to be a great coach. But
I could see it going both ways.
We're in the AFC South, so I always take my chance to roast the Titans.
You got it.
But
No, yeah, you have to for sure.
I think I was more in line with the Bills OC, even though he didn't end up getting hired.
Yeah,
I'm so
a
shocked he
J. Paul
didn't get a
guy.
job.
It's crazy.
How did he not
Yeah,
get a job?
he was my number one probably too, realistic one. But yeah. So moving on to pick 14, the Vikings. I have them taking Elijah Vera Tucker here, tackle slash guard out of USC, and I think this is what I would do if I were them because I think he could play both tackle and guard, and they need help all across the offensive line. But what I anticipate them doing is I think they take Kwity Paye, edge rusher out of Michigan here, but I think Elijah Vera Tucker is a top 15 player in the class, and I think he's just a really freaking good offensive lineman. And I would just take him, try him at tackle because he was fine at tackle this year at USC. But if he can't stick at tackle, put him at guard, and he's gonna be a Pro Bowl guard too. So I just roll with him. But yeah, you guys got any thoughts on that, or just keep him moving?
So personally, I think the Vikings could actually take Micah Parsons.
Really?
Because I'm pretty sure it was last year after I think when the Vikings played the Falcons or something like that, where Zimmer said this was currently the worst defense he's had in his whole career. So I definitely think they go defense here.
That's
Whether
that's
that
what I was
be
saying. That's what I was saying. Like, I think they will take Kwity Paye, but I
Yeah.
personally would take the best player available, which I think is Elijah Vera Tucker right now.
okay, gotcha. I definitely think they go defense though. Personally.
Yeah, I agree. I think they do, but like I said, this is just what I would have done.
Yeah.
But so moving on to pick 15. Originally here was the Patriots, but I had the Falcons trading down to here because the Patriots moved up for Trey Lance. So I have the Falcons here taking J.C. Horn, corner out of South Carolina. They just took a corner in the first round last year, and I think they just go back to back because they need defensive help, in my opinion.
They need a lot of defensive help.
Yeah. If it's not a corner here, I could see them going edge rusher maybe. And who knows what they do if they stick it before they take a quarterback. I don't know, but I think they probably would go defense if they trade down. So yeah, I've been taking J.C. Horn.
What other?
I think
I was saying for the trade, what other compensation did they get? Do you do that? Like,
I didn't do that. They probably got multiple first
so they
and seconds.
because I guess the Patriots only have one first round pick this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who's the corner the Falcons took last year then? I forgot.
AJ Terrell out of Clemson.
Oh, okay.
How was he?
He was pretty good. But I think they need another one as well. I
Just
couldn't
that
tell you
defense
who
was terrible.
Yeah, literally. Like I really couldn't tell you really any Falcons defensive players besides like Grady Jarrett and AJ Terrell and I guess Deion Jones and Keanu Neal's gone now, right?
I think so. I know he was a free
I
agent. I don't know if they kept him or not.
I was gonna say his name, but I thought he left too. So I'm not sure on that.
I'm 99% sure Keanu Neal is not on the team anymore.
All right.
But yeah. Are you looking that up, Lemons?
Yep.
Okay.
Part of me.
That's right.
So currently he's on the Dallas Cowboys.
That's
so, yeah,
right.
He
Yeah.
could leave.
That was a good pickup for them. He's a good player when healthy.
Yep.
Were you gonna say something, Sterling?
I was just say part of me would find it hilarious if the Falcons got Kyle Pitts at 4.
Hey, listen. If they don't take a quarterback,
just do it.
I think it would be Kyle Pitts because, Arthur Smith, those play actions, likes the tight ends. They had Jonnu Smith in Tennessee.
Yep.
I could see him liking those 2 tight end, 12 personnel sets. So
offense could be crazy.
Yeah. So moving on to pick 16, I got the Cardinals here. This is where the slide for Caleb Farley stops because I think he is a top 5 player in the class. The Cardinals need corner help badly, and I think they are in a position where they'd be willing to take the gamble on Caleb Farley here because the talent is just like generational corner, like Jalen Ramsey level talent. So I think it'd be a really good spot for him. Hopefully he falls farther to the Colts because that's who I want in the first round. Like I want Caleb Farley, Christian Darrisaw, or Jalen Phillips, but Farley I just really like Caleb Farley, man. He's a really good player.
You sold me on him.
Yeah.
How does your GM feel about those kind of like? Does he care about that?
So he hasn't really, off the top of my head, taken any risks on injury guys. I know before the locker room was really like good, he didn't want any like character risk guys, but he's come out and said now that we have the established locker room with like leaders in place that he thinks the locker room can handle like a couple more like red flag character kind of guys. But I don't for as
So
for
what
injury
players is he
guys,
talking about when he says that? Like
like
who?
a player that's like
Brandon Marshall.
no, not even
Yeah.
like that. Like I was thinking more like I'm trying to think of just like a red flag character guy. Like I wouldn't go like so far as to say Antonio
The,
Brown, but like
who's that Bills guy? The Bills receiver. He's supposed to be.
Cole Beasley?
No, the
Stephon
Vikings,
Diggs.
ex-Vikings.
Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs. He's supposed to be like.
I think
Yeah.
that whole thing about him being a bad character was overblown.
Really?
Yeah, he's not really a diva.
Yeah, he's not that at all.
So like, I don't know that like Chris Ballard want to take like a Aaron Hernandez like type like
Well,
red
yeah.
flag character, but like I like a Juju or someone like that, someone who's like gonna almost be a distraction, but like not like a bad guy, kind of like
Yeah.
kind of.
See, to me,
Just a bunch of noise around that player.
Yeah.
if he's saying stuff like that, I imagine he means like, I don't know, the ones that come out with. Do you remember what was that guy's name? D.D. Westbrook, for example.
Greg Hardy, for instance.
Yeah, like people that
Yeah.
people that.
Maybe he does mean that. I don't know.
Because like, why would you like a person like the who's the
Juju.
Steelers guy? Yeah, Juju. Like, sure, he's a little bit of a distraction, but like in terms of locker room, like he's the perfect locker room guy. Like he's one of those hardworking, like try to. I just remember based on what happened with Antonio Brown, like.
Like maybe like a Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah,
where
he
he's,
definitely
like,
started.
Yeah,
like,
that,
a
like,
lot,
yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe that's the kind of guy he's talking about. Like I don't know that he would want to take like an abuser or something like that, but I truly don't know because we haven't really taken any of those kind of guys. So I'd be interested to see, and maybe he met red flag guys. Maybe he's willing to take on some more injury risks. So I don't know. Maybe that Caleb Farley does fall into that. I hope so, but we'll see where Caleb Farley ends up going. But in here, I have him going to Cardinals at 16. So 17, I have. Oh my goodness, the Raiders guys. What are they doing? What are the Raiders
Who
doing?
knows
You
what
guys-
they're doing?
They just cut like their best,
they're-
like, 2 or 3 best offensive linemen for no reason.
I have no idea why they did that. I have no
They
idea.
just cut
They weren't grooving
Maurice Hurst.
grinders.
I don't know. Do you guys see they cut Maurice Hurst and Arden Key too? Maurice Hurst
Yeah.
is like a really good like pass rushing 3 tech. Like he's a good player. I hope we sign him. I would like him. But I just truly have no idea what they're doing. Like I don't know why they cut Rodney Hudson, who's more like one of the best centers in football. I think they just cut a tackle.
I heard it was something to do about his contract. Like they were just.
I have no idea.
Are they hurting
It
for
just-
money? Were
Yeah.
they over the cap?
I have
They
no
shouldn't
idea.
be now. They just built that big ass new stadium. Like they should have plenty of cash. You know?
I have no idea, but I have them taking Micah Parsons, linebacker out of Penn State here. I think he's the best player available right now. I think he's a really good talent, top 10 talent in the class, but he has some character concerns. And the character concerns are both like bad person character concerns and love of football character concerns. Because there are questions about whether he like loves the game of football and like really wants to like play and that kind of stuff. And then he also had a hazing incident where he was named as like a guy who like hazed a kid, where like knives were pulled and like super ripped stuff was said and done like very ripped stuff was done to the kid that I'm not gonna like say on camera because it's like super ripped. But he was named in that, and I don't know if like if he's a changed person now or something, or how true any of that was. Or that's where the teams are gonna have to do their own digging with like talking to people and stuff. But
if he's that good,
like,
who cares?
I mean, some teams might. I don't see the Raiders caring, but
Right.
some teams might. But
The thing I would.
saying, like,
Oh, yeah. Sorry, keep going.
What were you saying?
I was just saying the thing I would, think John Gruden doesn't want players that like don't love the game though, right? Like that seems like a huge red flag
Maybe,
for
yeah.
John Gruden specifically.
Yeah, like I said, that's why the teams have to do their own digging. They'd have to be okay with like those risks, but it's purely talent and like the player fit and like the positional need. I think that it'd be perfect for the Raiders because he's a top 10 player in the class, a freak athlete, and they have a need at linebacker. So I think that'd be a good fit for them if all the character stuff checks out and like love of the game checks out. So moving on to 18, I have the Dolphins here. I could see them going a couple different ways. I could see them maybe taking a Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah here, who's like a linebacker / safety, because they could employ or deploy him how they wanted to use Minka, because they were misusing Minka. They wanted him to be that kind of rover type player, whereas he's like a more of like a single high type safety, where Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah can kind of play like more down in the box all over. But I have them actually taking Tevin Jenkins here, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State, because I really think that they need offensive tackle help after trading away Laramie Tunsil. They haven't really addressed that. And I think Tevin Jenkins is a great player. He's really mean, like offensive line, like really mean disposition when he blocks, like violent, like bullying guys. Like, and I think that's very infectious to an offensive line room. When one guy's playing like that, forms a whole line almost to like have that mentality. And I think he could be a really nice player.
You know about that?
Yeah, Quentin Nelson literally did that to our offensive line. So
I know Tony Baselli loves that.
Yeah, I do too. If you watch some Tevin Jenkins film, it's hilarious. He's literally like blocking guys like to the whistle, like finishing them into the ground, exactly like Quentin Nelson does, finishing them out of bounds, even like blocking them all the way out of bounds. Like it is.
That's what you want, man.
It is. I really like Tevin Jenkins. Some teams might view him better at guard because he has shorter arms. I'm not really one of those like arm length kind of guys. Like I think it's more about how you use him. Like there have been good offensive linemen, like Joe Thomas had short arms too. It's just about how you use him. But Tevin Jenkins, I think he can play. He played right tackle in college, but he can play on either right side or left side. So whatever you want him to do, and if he doesn't work out at tackle, play him at guard, he'll probably stick fine there too. So I think they take him. I could also see them taking Najee Harris here. I think this is the.
I was just about to ask you that. Yeah.
This is the absolute ceiling I see Najee Harris going. I think it would be a reach. I wouldn't take Najee Harris. I wouldn't take any running back in the first round, even Saquon. But
would you take Saquon at pick 32?
Okay, maybe yes. Okay, yeah. Okay, yes. But I wouldn't take a Najee Harris in the first round. But yeah.
How good do you think he's actually going to be?
Najee?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. There's serious concerns with his top end speed. Like he's like a low key, like a 4.7 kind of guy. Like he's very like shifty, and he's a really.
But for a running
receiver.
back, that is not what you want.
No, it's not. Like he's good acceleration, but that top end speed is bad. Like it's almost like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire situation, or a James Robinson, where it's like he can make someone miss in the hole and be like, oh man, he's about to go for 50, and it ends up only going for 9. And that's not really what you want. But that's kind of what happened to Clyde Edwards-Helaire too this year. He just didn't have that top end speed, but he had that shiftiness. So maybe like, and he's a big back. He's like 6'2", 230, but he's not as powerful as he should be at that. Like he's not like running guys over like a typical Alabama back that you would think of. So like me, like I haven't heard this comparison made for him, but like hearing that description of the player, like good receiver, really quick and acceleration, really good vision, like really good jukes and stuff, really natural receiver, but not the top end speed, but kind of bigger. That to me sounds like Le'Veon Bell. So like maybe that's his ceiling. I haven't heard that comparison made for him, but that could, if he could be that kind of player, maybe he would pan out. But that's kind of a tough ask. Le'Veon's like low-key a Hall of Fame talent, but.
I mean, if he could be Le'Veon, that'd be a slam dunk. Le'Veon could catch 100 passes in a season, man.
Yeah, that's the kind of receiver like Najee is too, and they're similar sizes. Le'Veon I think is 6'2" as well, and I think Le'Veon came out at like 230 pounds or 240 and ran like 4.6 at the
He
combine.
had to lose some weight, yeah.
Yeah, he did lose some weight in the NFL, and I think he got a little bit faster. Because I remember Le'Veon would have like 50-yard gains and stuff. But yeah, Najee has some serious top-end speed concerns, which might have teams not liking him as much as
Yeah.
the media does. But so moving on to pick 19, we got the football team here. Now this is what I would do, not what I think would happen. So I have them taking Kellen Mond here, because I'm just gonna roll with my guy Chris Sims and trust that Kellen Mond is a first-round quarterback. And I think the football team needs to upgrade quarterback because they got Ryan Fitzpatrick right now. And Kellen Mond, if you want to sit him a year behind Fitz, I'd be fine with that as a fan as long as you got a plan there after Fitz. Because if just rocking with Fitz for like the foreseeable future, I wouldn't really feel comfortable with that as a fan. Like 1 year with a quarterback sitting behind him is fine, but other than that, they got a good roster around him too, man. They have Terry McLaurin, I think
Great
he's a top 10
roster.
receiver.
Indeed.
They just got Curtis Samuel, who I like. Really good defense, amazing defensive line. If they don't go quarterback here, which I don't expect them to, I could see them going just the best player available, maybe taking a tackle because they could use some help on the offensive line, or maybe they go linebacker here because that's like really the only other hole they have on their defense. Maybe, like I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do. They might get aggressive for a Mac Jones and trade up, but we'll see what they do. But here I have them just taking Kellen Mond, but I do not expect that to happen in real life.
Also, there's always that dichotomy of Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's only
Oh,
good
yeah.
if he's not supposed to be the main guy going in that season.
Yeah, that's true.
He's done it.
Yes,
He's done
that's
it
very true.
time and time again. He'll play himself into a big contract with a team, and then he'll just be
The
awful.
circle of Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Indeed,
It's
the
just-
circle of Ryan Fitzpatrick. So if you want to get the best out of Ryan Fitzpatrick, you draft Kellen Mond, and then they're probably like
Push him.
a Super Bowl contender.
Literally. So maybe if they don't want if they want Kellen Mond, maybe they trade down here. Someone wants to come up and get a player. They could trade down and get him maybe later in the first round if they want that fifth round or fifth year option, or they could try to move up in the second round for him. I think Kellen Mond ends up going in the second round, but we'll
Yeah,
see.
same here.
It'll be interesting.
It's a good
So I have the Broncos here at 20 because they traded down with the Bears, and I have them taking linebacker out of Notre Dame, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I think he'd fit really well in that Vic Fangio defense. They need linebacker help. They also could use an edge rusher here because Von Miller's getting a little long in the tooth there, and he's having some legal problems, I think. But Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, Chris Sims is very high on Owusu-Koramoah. He said he could be a linebacker or a safety. He said if whatever you want him to be, he said he could be Darius Leonard or Fred Warner, or he could be Derwin James if you want him to. Just wherever you put him, that's what he's going to be. So I think that'd be a really good pickup for the Broncos. But it'll be interesting to see where Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah ends up going, because if teams view him, I guess it just depends if they view him as a linebacker or a safety, because I don't know. Yeah, it'll just be interesting to see if teams want to use him as a Derwin James or like a Darius Leonard or Fred Warner type. So pick 21, the Colts. All right, so this is an interesting one because
Contrast.
my top guy. What? Contrast. My top two guys who I want for them are off the board right now, Caleb Farley and Christian Darrisaw. So I have them taking the third guy I want, Jalen Phillips, edge rusher out of Miami. So Jalen Phillips is an interesting story because he is a top 10 player in this class talent-wise. He's a blue-chip edge rusher, freak athlete. He was the number one recruit in 2017 out of high school to UCLA. And he's like 6'5", 260, really athletic. He's the best like technical pass rusher too, with like pass rush moves and that kind of stuff in this class. This class overall is a very raw class with edge rushers. There's no like polished guy or like clear cut number one guy. Jalen Phillips would be that if it wasn't for his injury concerns, which at UCLA he had 3 concussions and they forced him to medically retire, which is very scary. So he medically retired.
So he might drop out of the first round. Because goodness gracious.
Indeed.
He could, but he came back to Miami last year and came out of medical retirement, played for Miami, and just dominated again like he was before, and really got that first round talk going again. And it's just, I wouldn't. There are teams who are going to take him off his board because of that. Because
I would hope so.
Yeah, medical history. Like he is one concussion away from being done with football, but like,
Yeah, damn.
I just think that talent for the Colts right now, they need help at edge rusher. That the talent on the board, I think they could take a gamble here on a guy like Jalen Phillips. If they didn't go Jalen Phillips here, I would probably want them to trade down and just recoup some picks because we traded that third rounder away this year for Carson Wentz. Maybe get some extra picks if we trade down. But if no one wants to trade down and you don't like Jalen Phillips here, I could see them going Kwity Paye maybe if he's still on the board, which I don't expect him to be on the board in real life. Or they could take a tackle here like a Sam Cosmi or maybe Tevin Jenkins falls down this far. But yeah, those are some guys I like for the Colts at 21. So moving on to 22, we got the Tennessee Titans. They're interesting because like I don't know, like where would you guys say the Titans' like biggest positional need is?
I think they're going to help on defense, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought too originally. Like I thought maybe they had an abysmal edge rush last year.
What about Clown Town?
Is he on the?
No.
Yeah. Oh no, he's gone now. Yeah, he's on the Browns. Yeah.
He has 2 sacks in 2 years.
Oh no. He's an F the play up guy though.
Yeah, I know. Chris Sims loves Jadeveon.
Yeah. But I think they just signed Bud Dupree, and then they got Jeffrey Simmons, and then I think they got.
They did sign Bud Dupree, yeah.
Yeah, they got I think they might have signed another edge rusher too, or they have another guy on the other side who's up and coming. I think Harold Landry.
But what about the cornerbacks though?
They do need
pretty
help
sure a
at
few of them
corner.
left.
And they just
I think Adori's gone.
And Malcolm Butler's gone too.
Malcolm Butler, yeah.
Yeah, they could go corner here. I wouldn't be shocked to see them go corner here at all. But
And they were struggling last year, especially. Sorry. I was just saying they were struggling last year at corner specifically.
They were struggling at edge rush too. They could not sack anyone. But I think they did enough to address that this offseason. Well, they could take a guy in the second round too. But I have them taking Rashad Bateman, wide receiver out of Minnesota here, because they lost Corey Davis outside of AJ Brown. They don't really have any other receiving threats because they lost Jonnu too. Like who else is there besides AJ Brown and Derrick Henry on that offense? So Rashad Bateman, he could play that Corey Davis role, like intermediate, like move the chains guy, like off the play action type stuff. And Rashad Bateman is a similar player to Allen Robinson, I think, except like not as Allen Robinson-y as Allen Robinson. He's just kind of like a lesser version, but I really like Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota. Okay, so moving on to pick 23. Kwity Paye, edge rusher out of Michigan for the Jets. So the Jets need just about everything. And I think they could use an edge rush for Robert Saleh's defense because Robert Saleh has had a good defensive line in San Francisco, and Kwity Paye I think is the best edge rusher available right now. So I just have them. I'm not as high on Kwity Paye as like other people are, but I could see the Jets really liking him. He's a freak athlete who's just a bit raw, but with some coaching, he could be a really really good player. So moving on to pick 24 here, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They talk about another team on the downtrend.
Yeah, they need a long list of things.
Yeah, they really don't got much going for them. Rumor on the street is that they're going to take Najee Harris here at 24, which they deserve whatever comes to them if they do that, man.
They need running back though.
They
bad.
Listen, they need it bad, but you can get a running back in.
But they can't.
You can sign a guy.
They clearly they must not be able to.
Yeah, but they have nobody right now.
They need help on the D line. They need help at offensive line, especially. Like they need help at center. They need help at tackle. Like they are a mess. They need a quarterback too, low key. Like
It's a
it
very
is
old
not looking
team.
good. And they're almost like capped out too. Like it is bad looking for the Steelers. But I have them taking Landon Dickerson, interior offensive lineman out of Alabama. Landon Dickerson is interesting because he is a top 10 player in the class talent wise. He was just dominant. Like I heard multiple people say they never saw him lose a rep at Alabama in the SEC. That's like unheard of. Like he is legit, but I think he has had 2 ACL tears at Alabama and then like some other like ankle stuff going on. So he's got some injury concerns. But if you like the player and that talent is falling down there, like I think you might want to take a risk on a guy like Landon Dickerson, especially when you have that big of a need. Like he could end up being like a premier like top 2 or 3 top best center in football. Like
Mhm.
he's that level of potential. Like he's really good, but it's just that injury stuff causes him to fall a little bit. So moving to
But
pick
yeah, real
25, we
quick,
got
I just want to say about the Steelers. Like, I know that we were saying like they're trending in the bad direction, but I feel like
mm-hmm.
with a team like the Steelers, they're one of those like names stay like consistency. They're always like the golden standard that people like use for teams
Yeah,
that can
they're
rebuild
a
without
well-run
losing.
organization.
Hmm?
Yeah,
Like, cause,
I said that.
like
Yeah, they're a well-run
yeah.
organization.
So like to me, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not willing to think like. I mean, I think that they're clearly need to be in rebuild mode, but for the Steelers, I think that could be 8 and 8 seasons where they make the playoffs, like maybe once in a while, because especially with the expanded playoffs, and then
Mm-hmm.
eventually they've like rebuilt and they go back
Eight
all
and
in.
nine or 9 and 8. What are
No,
they?
8 and 9.
8-1.
disgusting.
Disgusting.
Truck the NFL.
Literally. AFC North is tough though. I
Yeah,
could see them not making the playoffs this year. But
I mean, I would say it's probably a long shot, right? With
yeah,
the Browns being like
and the
upwards and the
Ravens.
Ravens,
Yeah,
they're gonna need
yeah.
that 9 and 8 extra that last
Yeah,
playoff spot.
that's disgusting, man. Um, so moving on to pick 25, we got the Jaguars here. So Sterling, maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you want for the Jaguars at 25 after taking Trevor Lawrence.
All right, so for me, I could see us going a number of ways. Like a lot of mock drafts have us taking a safety. A lot of mock drafts have us taking a tight end at some point or wide receiver Rondell Moore. We're in an interesting position because we have so many picks within the next like few picks or whatever. Because we have
Mm-hmm.
2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and we have the top of the second round. So it's one of those where you really have to hold the value. And since this is only a first-round mock draft, I'm gonna just list off a few of the names that I want.
Uh-huh.
We like within one of these 3 picks, we need to address the tight end position. Our last GM did not have like I guess he did not value tight ends enough. We have not like drafted tight ends. We let Mercedes Lewis go for no reason, and he's still playing in the NFL, and he's still like amazing at what he does, which is like run blocking, and he still can
He's
catch a
still
little
playing
bit.
great.
And so I want we need a tight end, but I obviously know the value maybe not is not as like consistent there. So I wouldn't be mad if we took Frymouth. I wouldn't be mad if we took Rondell Moore. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be mad if we took the safety either, even if I wouldn't necessarily always go that direction. Also, I mean it's Urban Meyer and Trent Baalke's show, so I don't have a good feel for their style of drafting. It could be none of these players, and they could go in like a crazy direction. Maybe they go O line. Like a lot of people have us taking left tackle. I don't know which
Mm-hmm.
left tackles you have at this like range, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean I could see that if they want insurance for Cam Robinson or insurance for Jawan Taylor, who had a good rookie season but like struggled a little bit more in his second season. Pretty much, it's
Mm-hmm.
just one of those like the world is our oyster. We could do a number of different
Yeah.
things.
So I wouldn't be upset if I was a Jags fan, if you guys took Pat Fryermuth here. I can completely understand it. He's a great player. I think you could get him at 33, though. It's a bit of a risk because the Packers might be able to. We got an echo going here. it's a bit of a risk because the Packers might grab him with their first round pick, but it's a risk I'd be willing to take because Jason Owe is still on the board here. And I think he's the best player available right now. And let me tell you a little bit about Jason Owe. So he is an edge rusher out of Penn State. And he is 6'5", 257, and he ran a 4.37. What is that? 4.37 at 6'5", 257 is insane. 40-inch vertical, 11-foot broad jump. Like, he is like an insane athlete. The thing with him is he had 0 sacks at Penn State, but
Kind of a big deal.
well, he had 0 sacks this year at Penn State. The thing, it is a big deal, but the film tells a different story. He was effing the play up, as Chris Sims would
Oh,
say.
so he sounds like
lot.
a Clown Town type player, huh?
But
I'm
well,
talking about
maybe he'll be
Jadeveon
able to
Clowney, by
finish-
the way, when I say Clown Town.
Yeah. Maybe he'll be able to finish those plays in the NFL, but he was creating havoc in the backfield. And the thing is, there's another player who was a freak athlete coming out of college and didn't have a lot of sacks in college, who ended up being good in the NFL. That's Danielle Hunter from the Vikings. That's who everyone's comparing Jason Owe to because just the similar athleticism and similar production in college and panning out. So that's what I have the Jags doing because he could play both 4-3 end and 3-4 outside linebacker, just stand up rusher. And you guys are moving to a 3-4, right?
Yeah, it's a 3-4 hybrid, so we'll do both looks, but yeah.
So there you go. He can do both for you. So I think when in doubt, best player available, and especially when they're at a premium position like edge rusher, I don't think you can really go wrong with that. But like I said, if I didn't take Jason Owe here, I would probably go Freiermuth or Trevon Merrick here, the safety. But yeah. Moving on to pick 26, the Cleveland Browns. I have them taking Christian Barmore, defensive tackle out of Alabama here. I could see Barmore going a lot higher. It's very interesting because draft Twitter and a lot of the scouts and podcasts I listen to don't have Barmore like that high. But like word on the street is the league thinks he's going to be like a top 15 pick, which is like crazy to me. So it'll be very interesting to see where he goes. But I think the Browns don't have a crazy amount of holes right now, except for like interior D line, and that's where I think they could need help. So I could see them taking Christian Barmore here if he's on the board, or Levi Wuzurike out of Washington, some interior offensive linemen, 3 techniques. So yeah, that's who I have them taking. Moving on to pick 27, I have the Baltimore Ravens taking Terrace Marshall Jr., wide receiver out of LSU here. The Ravens need wide receiver help in the worst
I know.
way.
Ravens Twitter, Ravens flock, they were spamming this magical DJ Shark to the Ravens trade that they were saying was going to happen. Did you ever see that?
Or something?
Hmm?
Was it for like Mark Andrews or something?
It had like it was like Orlando Brown was like the start of it. We were still sending a first round pick and DJ Shark, and I think they were going to give like a 3rd round pick back, and it was going to be Orlando Brown. Like
hilarious.
Our co-owner, the son, Tony Khan, came in and said this was like unequivocally false, and the league update guy, like the guy that like posted it, started arguing with him, being like, no, this was definitely, this was like a sure thing, it was gonna happen, until the owner, like then he said like the owner stepped in and like stopped it. He said that Balky and Mark Lamping, which is the team president, had already signed the papers and it was gonna happen, but the owner like stopped it last second to save face on Twitter. I don't know if you ever heard of this one guy, like his name was like CJ Golson or something. It was a strange. He's like he's just one of those like draft Twitter like profiles, like you always say like they say different bites, I guess. But yeah, Ravens flock, they're dying for a receiver.
Yeah, they just signed Sammy Watkins, so that could help them out a little bit, but like Sammy Watkins isn't like anything special really. So I have them taking Terrace Marshall Jr. here, wide receiver out of LSU. He is 6'3", 205, runs 4.38, and has like a 40-inch vertical. So he's like a really good size, really good athlete. And and there's something called the RAS. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, relative athletic score, where they kind of like take all their measurables and then like relate it to their size and kind of like give them a score out of 10, and like using math and formulas, all that kind of stuff. So and out of 10, Terrace Marshall Jr. scored 9.94 out of a possible 10, which ranked 15 out of 2,480 wide receivers from 1987 to 2021. So he is a ridiculous athlete. Now, the thing with these numbers is they're pro day numbers, not combine numbers. So
Indeed.
are they legit? We don't know, but we do know that he's regardless still a really good athlete, and he's a good route runner too. So he might go earlier than this. So I think if he's on the board, I think the Ravens would just run this up because they need receiver help in just the worst way. So 28, the New Orleans Saints. I have them taking Jamin Davis, linebacker out of Kentucky here. Now, Jamin Davis is a bit of a late riser in this draft process, but he's like a Darius Leonard type linebacker, like long, fast, athletic. And I think the Saints like really need like linebacker help. I could also see them going maybe like a wide receiver here because they don't really have anyone outside of Michael Thomas. Maybe they take a Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney and the Sean Payton offense would be a lot of fun, but at the end of the day, I have them taking linebacker out of Kentucky here. So moving on to pick 29, we got the Green Bay Packers and Lemons. What do you want for the Packers here?
To be honest, so I've looked at this a decent amount, but like I'm not really sold on one exact player here. Since we let our center go, we constantly like to move our line, because I'm pretty sure Elgton Jenkins he moves around quite a bit, so we could go line. But we also need more corner help. But I mean, most good corners are going to be gone by now. So
where's Kevin King at these days?
We actually brought him back for one more year. Yep.
Okay. Sorry about
which
that.
Which is very unfortunate. So I'm thinking maybe we go line. Yeah, or if like I'm pretty sure he's the reason we lost that game. It was absolutely brutal. Yeah, so maybe take the best player that's available, possibly, or if not, then just try and bolster up our line or our D line, possibly.
So I was thinking the Packers have really two glaring holes to me. I think your biggest needs are at tight end and center, interior offensive line in general.
You think our biggest need is at tight end?
No, I think it's center, but then tight end probably second. But
I personally think Tanyan can be a great player for us for years. Like he had an amazing year last year. He caught like what I think like 9 touchdowns or something like that.
I know he had he had a good year, but how much of that is Aaron Rodgers and how much of that is Robert Tonyan?
Well, again, if we draft a tight end there, like most of it is still going to be because of Rodgers and not that.
But my thing is like I'm talking about the production. Is it because of Rodgers or is it because of Tonyan? Like I don't think Tonyan is scaring defenses, as maybe like a Freiermuth here would. You see what I'm saying? Like it would put stress on the defense more than a Robert Tonyan.
That's a good point.
Don't sleep on my boy Mercedes Lewis. He's definitely scaring defenses. At least when he walks up.
He's scaring the edge rushers. But listen, a little sidebar on Mercedes Lewis. I saw him catching warm-up passes in real life when he was on the Jaguars in person. He is the biggest human to ever exist, man. He's a big dude. He looked like an offensive tackle out there catching passes. I was like, he looked bigger. He literally looked bigger than Calais Campbell to me. And Calais Campbell's is bigger, but Calais Campbell's 6'8", like 300 something pounds. But Mercedes Lewis, maybe it was just because he was catching passes he looked bigger, but it looked like he looked comically
that full stretch.
It was unreal how big he was.
Tony Baselli always said, if you put on 40 pounds, you could probably be tackle. Tony Baselli thinks he would be a really good tackle if he had done that.
That's crazy. He probably should have done that.
Yeah, indeed.
Made more money. But yeah, so I have the Packers going Creed Humphrey, center out of Oklahoma here. So Creed Humphrey, do you guys remember the the relative athletic score that I was just talking about, Creed Humphrey scored a 10 out of 10 on that for athleticism. So he is
That's
a
impressive.
ridiculous athlete for his size. So if Landon Dickerson is on the board here because he falls because of injuries, I would want him if I was a Packers fan, just because I think he's a better player. But Creed Humphrey is still a really good center and a freak athlete. So I could see them going center here since they just let Corey Linsley walk. But like you said, Elgton Jenkins I think he played center in college at Ole Miss, I believe.
Yeah, we actually move our line around a bunch. We move everyone around a bunch,
you know, all
which is good.
Guys, I think they could low-key play anywhere on the interior.
Right.
Especially a center. It's easier to go from center to guard than guard to center. But so I have you guys taking Creed Humphrey here. Maybe just play him at guard if you don't like him at center, but I think he'd be a good center. So 30, the Bills. Ideally, I think they would want to go edge rush here, but I think the value is there for edge rusher right now for them. The best edge rusher on the board right now is probably Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia, and he's a 3-4 linebacker, and they run a 4-3. So I'm personally not that high on Azeez Ojulari, but I know a lot of people are. So I didn't take him here for the Bills because this is what I would do. So I had them taking cornerback Greg Newsome II out of Northwestern. I think he's a really good cover 2 corner, and I know they run that Seattle scheme. So
pair him with White too.
That's Tre'Davious White. Yeah, that's a perfect scheme fit for Greg Newsome. So I think he'd be a really good player for them at 30 if they don't want to go edge rush. But if an edge does fall to them, I can see them going edge rush instead. So moving on to 31, the Chiefs. So I don't know how you could justify anything other than offensive tackle right now for the Chiefs.
100%.
So I have them taking Alex Leatherwood out of Alabama here. I don't think he's the best tackle left right now, but I wanted to keep this relatively realistic, and I know Andy Reid does not draft short arm left tackles, and all the tackles who I would consider better than Alex Leatherwood right now have like 33-inch arms, which are below the 34-inch threshold that people have set for offensive tackle. And Alex Leatherwood has like an insane wingspan. I think it's like 85 inches, which is like longer than John Jones or something.
He's huge, right?
Let me look up how big he is. He had a pretty ridiculous relative athletic score as well.
All those Alabama O linemen, I feel like they're always like the top of like the high school class, and they're always just humongous.
6'6".
Yeah, they're always just huge people. It's like Cam Robinson, and then they always go like at this range, like late first round, early second round when the draft comes around.
Yeah, he has 34-inch arms actually. So man, he just hit that. Never mind. He has 34 and 3/8-inch arms. So yeah, he's above that, and he has an 85 and 3/8 wingspan, which is longer than John Jones. So he's
Good Lord.
Yeah, he's pretty ridiculous. But some teams like him better at guard for some reason. I'm not sure why. He definitely meets like the physical criteria for a tackle. Like, let me look up his relative athletic score. No, I don't. I think he's.
Remember, the same thing happened with Cam Robinson.
I don't know. Like, people wanted him a guard too.
Mm-hmm. I think you were telling me he was supposed to be a guard.
Maybe I was. Alex Leatherwood. He scored a 9.86 on the relative athletic score, which is he scored 17 out of 1,100 offensive tackles from 1987 to 2021. So he's a pretty freak athlete for his size. He's 6'5", 312, and had a 34.5-inch vertical and a 4.96 40. So he's plenty athletic. He's a little bit below average height for a tackle. He's 6'5", but he's got the arm length to make up for it. So, and the athleticism. So I would have no problem playing him at tackle. The other players at tackle here for the Chiefs, I like Sam Cosmi a lot out of Texas. I would probably take him over Alex Leatherwood, except that his arms are 33 inches, and I know Andy Reid literally doesn't have a tackle on the roster who has 33-inch arms. So I think that's one of those things where he just takes you off his board because he's a former offensive lineman, and I could see him being kind of pretentious about that kind of stuff. So that's why I have him taking Leatherwood here over the shorter arm tackles. And 32, Buccaneers. Name a hole for the Bucs, guys. Like, what do they really need
Quarterback?
in the first round? I mean, yeah, but like, I
Run it
think they're
back.
probably going to make a push for
The GOAT.
They're trying to run it back with the exact same team, except maybe some rookies too. So like, I could see them going a running back here, maybe a Najee or a Travis Etienne, but
they brought back Fournette,
Mhm.
and they just signed Bernard.
Yeah, they
and they have
they don't need
that
it, man.
one dude.
they still have Ronald Jones,
Yeah,
They don't need it.
but
exactly.
yeah, they don't. So that's why I have them taking Levi and Wuzurike here, defensive tackle out of Washington, because they just re-signed Ndamukong Suh, but
Mhm.
he's probably not going to be around for that much longer. And
And he's very
Jason
old.
Light,
Yeah.
Jason Light, the GM for the Bucks, has come out and said that when they draft, they don't look at what a player will do for them that year. They draft players based on what they think they'll be in 3 years, which I think is a good philosophy for drafting. So I think Levi Wuzurike, he's a 3 tech. He's Chris Sims' #1 defensive tackle in the class, and Chris Sims thinks he should get drafted in like the top 15 or like that mid first round. So
Dang.
I think that'd be pretty good value for the Bucks there if he is what Chris Sims thinks he is.
The Bucks roster, man. They have like an embarrassment of riches at every position. Then.
It's crazy how they were able to run it back, man. Like
Indeed.
that is so rare for Super Bowl teams to literally have the exact same. They didn't lose one like starter.
Indeed.
Like
It's not going to
they
happen,
managed
I
to keep-
guarantee you.
They're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna win the Super Bowl. But,
But
like,
what would you have
no.
said last
They
year,
managed to
Lemons,
keep-
when Brady was signed? We would have been like,
Yeah,
nothing.
I thought they'd maybe make the playoffs. Like, maybe.
yeah, they managed to keep Shaq Barrett and Chris Godwin, man.
Indeed,
That's
that's
crazy.
insane.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And and they were already pressed up against the cap, and they managed to do it. I think it's because Chris Godwin was willing to play on the tag to
Franchise tag, yeah.
Jason
yeah,
Light,
to be able to run it back.
the greatest GM of our era.
Well, I mean, he drafted Roberto Aguayo in the second round.
Yeah,
so, or was it first round or second?
Yeah, it was the
I can't
second
remember,
round.
but
Second. It was
His one
second.
miss, but he's been nothing but hits since.
he has been really good since that. But yeah, that wraps up the first round of the NFL draft.
Good job, fellas.
Indeed.
Good job.
The first round is like for us, it's like, I mean, it's the most exciting in some ways, but unlike other years, like I know who we're taking, and
Yeah, that's true. Well, 25. You still have 25 to look forward to.
did that's like, it feels more like a real pick.
Yeah.
Why couldn't the Rams help us out, man? Just lose some games. Imagine
They
if
help you out.
It's
imagine
funny
if they were like
'cause
the
they lost to the Jets.
no,
There you go.
indeed. Imagine if they were like, what's it called though? If they were like who was it? The Truckin' Texans? They're the ones that traded their pick to the Dolphins, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
those
just
are
had
hilarious.
like the first pick and then the third pick.
Oh my goodness.
Can't even
Like the
imagine what you
Browns
do.
In 20.
You have to trade that
they
pick,
had the
right?
First and fourth pick.
You can't draft that.
The Browns took Denzel Ward.
Yeah, but the Browns didn't have like the Trevor Lawrence, like they had Baker Mayfield, right?
Yeah.
Or was it Myles Garrett that year?
No, it was Baker. It was 2018.
Like I was saying, there wasn't just like that kind of quarterback quality thing. If you
Yeah.
had that third pick as the Jaguars, I feel like you would have to do what the Dolphins did.
Now.
Yeah.
100%.
You'd have to trade it back.
Especially in this quarterback class,
hmm
where there's going to be a lot of people wanting to trade up for Justin Fields or Mac Jones or Trey Lance. You would definitely. The Dolphins were smart to trade out of that. Well, they should have taken a quarterback. But if you want to run it back with Tua, then they were smart to trade out of that because
Mhm.
the value for that pick was greater this year than it would have been in other years just because of the quarterbacks this year.
Indeed.
And you could potentially parlay that in the future picks maybe for Deshaun Watson if that gets all sorted out.
Indeed.
That's not Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
Maybe
indeed.
next time it'll all be over and
Probably
he
not.
won't be he will not be named anymore.
Hopefully. But yeah, good podcast, guys.
Indeed.
All right, fellas. Nice job.
Signing out.
Signing out.
Oh, there we go.
Later, fellas.